A warm welcome as the Brewers are back in Miller Park, ready for their rival Chicago Cubs, the first of a weekend-long three-game rivalry going on in the National League Central Division. Ryan Braun, the hottest hitter right now in baseball, arguably, but so is the rest of his teammates. The Brewers have won 4 in a row, while the Cubs come into this matchup reeling, losing 5 of 6. Hi, everybody. As we welcome you back inside Miller Park, our coverage of Brewers baseball continues on Fox Sports Wisconsin. Davey Nelson and Craig Kashan on board with you. Brewers are hot, win 4 games in a row right now, Davey, and so much has to do with what's going on with pitching, but the offense going right out of the roof here at Miller Park, isn't it?
Well, it certainly has, you know, and it's been good. I think all that hard work that you've seen these guys do, partner, early work and a whole bit, and they're taking it to the hilt. I mean, hitting the ball the other way, as you see, and you know, swinging at pitches that are strikes, and they're getting the mistakes that pitchers are making and just driving the ball. Dale Swain, the hitting coach, gets a lot of credit for that.
Well, he sure does. It all started with that 11-7 win in Washington, and then the 3-game sweep in Pittsburgh yesterday. 20-0, the Brewers pounded out 25 hits, and everybody who had a bat in their hands
on a night-to-night basis.
I talked to a number of the Brewers players around the batting cage today, and they're not taking any.
More about that tonight as Jeff Suppan battles Ryan Dempster. And then another big question for you. Who's the ace in the Cubs bullpen? Ryan and Bill explain when we come back.
Wisconsin is presented by Menards. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. By AT&T. See what's new from AT&T. Visit att.com for details. And by the Miller Lite aluminum pint. 4 more ounces of that great Pilsner taste. Well, the roof is closed on a Friday night here in Milwaukee, and the anticipation is building, and it will be loud in here tonight as division rivals, the Brewers and the Cubs, go at it for the first time here at Miller Park. Hi, everybody. Brian Anderson along with Bill Schroeder and Rock. We're going to find out how well the Brewers are able to turn the page. They bring the Cubs into town now after an historic day yesterday in Pittsburgh. Cubs have a lot of drama going on. The Brewers are going to face Ryan Dempster. But I think the big story all across baseball is the Carlos Zambrano situation.
Yeah, it's amazing. When you look at the Chicago Cubs, their starting rotation has been tremendous except for Carlos Zambrano. The rest of the guys, an ERA at about 2, but that's not why he's going to the bullpen. It's a bullpen issue. These guys in the bullpen have not fared all that well. 1-6, an ERA over 6. Zambrano has been very inconsistent throughout his career, and you got to wonder just how he's going to be able to adjust to being in that bullpen. Can he go back-to-back days? He's not available yet. He's going to be in that bullpen tomorrow, so that's a little bit of uncertainty. One thing that's never uncertain is when Ryan Dempster takes the mound for the Chicago Cubs. His numbers against the Brewers have been tremendous. You see 12-3. He's 8-1 in his last 10 starts. So the Brewers have a lot of confidence going into this game against Dempster. They're going to need it because he's one of the best.
12 wins against the Brewers. Only Roy Oswalt has more among active pitchers. Can the Brewer bats stay alive? 25 hits yesterday. We'll see if they can keep it going. It's the Brewers and the Cubs. The I-94 rivalry is next. And Pinella in the final year of his contract. He's got a lot of changes in his lineup today. It's brought to you by Subway. Ryan Theriot leads off, Kosuke Fukudome, then Derek Lee. Middle of the order is Chad Tracy, Marlon Byrd, and Tyler Colvin. Mike Fontenot, Coy Hill, and Ryan Dempster rounded out. So no Giovanni Soto, no Alfonso Soriano either, and no Ramos Ramirez, the lineup that will face Jeff Suppan tonight.
And Jeff Suppan, it's been 8 days between starts for Suppan. Ken Maka wanted to split up the lefties, Randy Wolf and Doug Davis, so Suppan gets the start, his second of the year. His last start came at Wrigley Field against these Cubs.
Set the defense behind Jeff Suppan, a pitcher who pitches to contact. They'll be busy tonight with Braun, Gomez, and Edmonds in the outfield. Around the horn, it's Casey McGee, Alcides Escobar, Ricky Weeks, and Prince Fielder. And a battery of Greg Zahn and Jeff Suppan. Jim Edmonds, the former Cub, back in the starting lineup once again. He's in right field tonight. And it's a similar lineup other than Zahn and the pitcher to what we saw yesterday in Pittsburgh. And why not? Why change if you're Ken Maka after the Brewers put up historic numbers yesterday and the largest margin of victory in a shutout and tied the largest margin of victory ever in Brewer franchise history. Laz Diaz calls the balls and strikes. John Hirschbeck, James Hoy, and Wally Bell on the bases. And Ryan Theriot greets Suppan with a base hit to the gap. Gomez cuts it off. Theriot into second base with a leadoff double on the game's first pitch.
Well, Ryan Theriot just continues to hammer the baseball against the Milwaukee Brewers. He is a one-man wrecking crew against Milwaukee. Theriot coming in at 266, but it seems like this guy's on base 2-3 times a night against Milwaukee. First pitch from Suppan into the gap in right center.
Well, Theriot now batting over 300 against Jeff Suppan in his career. A leadoff double on one pitch. And here is Kosuke Fukudome, who's off to a hot start with the Cubs. Cubs just aren't hitting. The last time we saw Chicago last week at Wrigley Field, they were hitting home runs at a quick pace. They've had just one home run in the last 6 games. And they're a ball club right now that is trying to figure out where they are. They've got issues in their lineup. Aramis Ramirez is not hitting. He's out of the lineup for the 2nd straight day. And of course, the big news, as we mentioned, Lou Piniella sending Carlos Zambrano to the bullpen.
Yeah, a lot of panic for Lou Piniella in that bullpen, particularly in that 8th inning. 8th inning, the setup man has been very inconsistent for Piniella, so I think everybody's surprised that Zambrano not only sent to the bullpen, but he has agreed to it. Of course, we'll see how that pans out once he starts throwing.
Now, word is from Cubs camp that Zambrano will not be available tonight. It is possible that he'll be available tomorrow. Drew Olson was on that story, and we'll hear from him later about that. But rarely do you ever see it. I'm not sure. I can remember a case where a starting pitcher, especially an ace, an opening day starter, goes to the bullpen in a setup role.
Right.
We've seen starting pitchers go into the bullpen as closers, and that was last done by Brett Myers of the Philadelphia Phillies back in '07.
Well, the Cubs recently did it with Kerry Wood, but I think that they did that during the offseason and had him start out in spring training. Very rarely is it done, and once the season has started.
And all that being said, it's still a Cubs-Brewers rivalry here this weekend. And it always spices it up as Fukudome drives one into the gap. Theriot is going to score easily. Back-to-back doubles against Jeff Suppan, and the Cubs are up 1-0.
Well, you would figure after 8 days between starts, Suppan, a control pitcher, biggest issue for him is going to be location, and particularly keeping the baseball down. That ball up out over the plate, and Fukudome able to rip it into that right center field gap. So back-to-back doubles. Suppan hasn't been able to get the baseball down in the strike zone.
Now Fukudome came in batting .293, and he stays hot with a double, an RBI double. Fukudome's 8th. 1-0 Cubs. And now Derek Lee, who has been Jeff Suppan's nemesis his entire career. Lee has just monster numbers against Jeff Suppan throughout his career.
Yep, high batting average, including 6 home runs against Suppan.
The numbers for Derek Lee against Suppan: 23 hits in 54 at-bats, and that includes 6 homers. One of those home runs came in their last matchup at Wrigley Field last Thursday. Yeah,
a number of hitters in this Cup lineup have had success against Suppan, but
Jeff's numbers career against the Cubs not too bad in 24 starts. He's got a 3.76 earned run average. The problem for Jeff, though, 6-13 or 6-9. That's his record. So I guess he's thrown well, but hasn't won many games.
Suppan took a no decision the last time out against the Cubs, which was his first start of the year. Gave up 4 runs in 5 innings. He actually pitched okay that day, according to his manager, Ken Maka. The numbers don't say as such, but you remember it was a day the wind was blowing out 20 to 25 miles per hour. It was an offensive afternoon at Wrigley Field. The Brewers ended up winning that game 8-6. Suppan started against Zambrano that day, and one of 5 final game of series victories for Milwaukee as Suppan gets it to 2-2 on Derek Lee.
And the one thing was impressive for Suppan in that start was, went on rehab and, made his start and was able to keep the baseball down and found the corners pretty well. You mentioned the wind blowing out. Ramirez hit a wind-blown home run to left, just barely making into the basket. So, yeah, I agree. His numbers really didn't show how well he pitched.
And it was Suppan's first start of the year. He was bothered by a neck injury in spring training. So Suppan's last 3 starts, Friday and single A, 2 Fridays ago. He goes from Friday to Thursday at Wrigley, from Thursday at Wrigley to tonight here at Miller Park. So pitching on day 8. A slow roller out to McGee, and unable to throw out Derek Lee, an infield hit.
Well, somebody's got to get him out on that ball. I'm not sure what happened there. I think if Casey lets Escobar field that baseball, I think Escobar is going to be able to throw him out. But once Casey ranged very far towards second base, there's no way that Casey would have been able to set himself and make a throw. And Suppan really trying his best to keep the baseball down. He did it on that last pitch. Got the ground ball, but didn't get the out.
So 3 straight hits for Chicago. That'll go as an infield hit for Derek Lee. And now it's Chad Tracy and not Aramis Ramirez. Ramirez is 0 for his last 19. And Lou Piniella feeling like, after a pinch hit appearance yesterday, the kind of work he's been doing with Rudy Jaramillo, the new Cubs hitting coach, he needs another day on the sidelines. So Tracy gets the start at third base, normally a first baseman, and he goes right into Ramirez's cleanup spot in the batting order.
Yeah, it makes the substitution pretty easy, right? You have one guy hitting out of his comfort level as opposed to everybody else.
A run is in on a Fukudome double. He played it Terrio. Just underway at Miller Park. 2-1 on Tracy. Well, Ken Maka and the Brewers have won 4 straight. All on the road. Finishing off a terrific stand against Pittsburgh, where they outscored the Pirates 36-1 in that 3-game series. And the Brewers come in having scored 47 runs in the last 4 games. Offense well intact, and Ryan Braun is making a bid at Player of the Week in the National League.
Hey, they turned what started out to be a dreadful road trip, turned it into a decent road trip, 5-4. Started out 1-4 through Chicago and first 2 games in Washington, and then finished 4-0.
Three balls, 2 strikes on Tracy. Suppan could use a ground ball here. Still looking for his first out. Already 3 hits on the board for the Cubs. Ryan Braun gives chase, and he'll run it down for out number 1.
Suppan able to get the ball away from Tracy, but still up in the strike zone. You're not going to get too many ground balls with pitches up around the belt. Had some good movement going away from Tracy and got him to pop it up.
Quick trip to the mound from catcher Greg. Well, the Cubs coming off a series in New York. They had a 4-game series at Citi Field in New York. Dropped 3 out of 4.
One of the reasons why the Cubs perhaps have not hit a lot of home runs. It's not an easy ballpark to hit homers.
At one point, the Cubs had lost 4 straight until they won 2 days ago, and then they lost final game of that series yesterday. 2 on, 1 out, and the batter is Marlon Byrd. Bird's been swinging the bat exceptionally well since the Brewers came to Wrigley Field last week. Prior to that, he was struggling a little bit. But he is the team leader in RBIs at this point. And a .311 batting average. Byrd has 19 hits in 61 at-bats.
Yeah, he's been a nice clutch hitter for Lou Piniella. 11 of his 13 RBIs have come with 2 outs. Makes good contact. He's got good speed. He's been a nice addition to this ball club.
Now, Byrd was hitting under 200 when the Brewers were in Chicago last week. But he had a good series against Milwaukee, and he took that good hitting on the road with him. It's a big pickup for the Cubs this offseason. Byrd coming over from the Texas Rangers. And his hitting coach, Rudy Jaramillo, comes with him from Texas. Another Cub that has good numbers in his career against Suppan.
Yeah, good slider from Suppan on the 1-1 count. Down and off the corner.
Ball and 2 strikes with 1 away. Byrd has good speed. He's a tough guy to double up and sends that one to right. That's well hit. On the run is Edmonds, and he will run it down for the out. Tagging at second is Fukudome. He'll make it to third without a play. Nice catch by Jim Edmonds in right field.
Man, that ball just kept slicing further and further as it got out there toward the line. Talking about good pickups, we talked about Marlon Byrd being a good pickup for the Cubs. How about Jim Edmonds? How good has he been?
And hasn't played a lot of right field in his career until this year with Milwaukee. He's been starting in center field and right field at times this season. Shows you some of that form that earned him 8 Gold Gloves. So 2 outs. And here's Tyler Colvin, the Cubs rookie left fielder. He's in there for Soriano tonight. That was a good breaking ball. Suppan ahead of the count.
Yeah, Soriano's been swinging the bat pretty well. You know, once the Brewers left Chicago, Soriano started to get hot. He's hitting over 400 in his last 10 games, but sitting this one out.
There's Ryan Dempster. He's on the mound for the Cubs tonight. He's been tough on the Brewers in his career. 12 wins, only 3 losses, and a .288 earned run average. He went the reverse of Carlos Zambrano. He went from the bullpen to a starting role just a few seasons back. And they got him picked off. Derek Lee was on the move. Escobar fires to the plate, throws it away, and a run scores. Lee's on his way to third. A defensive breakdown for the Brewers, and the Cubs have a 2-0 lead.
I think if Escobar just kept running at Derek Lee, he would have been able to tag him before Fukudome scored. The mistake that he made was he spun around and tried to throw it a little bit too hard. Check it out. Is he going to be able to get to him in time? I think with his speed, if he keeps going, he tags him out before Fukudome scores. That throw not even close. And Derek Lee ends up at third base.
That's already the 4th error for the young Escobar this year. Suppan had a chance to get out of the inning. Instead, 2 runs are in, and now a runner at third base, and a 1-1 count on Tyler Colvin. Into center, and Gomez will settle under it for the out. Shaky start for the Brewers tonight. 2 runs for the Cubs, a 24-pitch inning. And we head to the Brewer half of the first. We'll see if the bats can stay up. The first thing from the Brewers defense. Let one get away. The Cubs have 2 on the board, and here is Ken Maka's starting lineup, brought to you by Subway. It's Ricky Weeks, Carlos Gomez, and Ryan Braun. Middle of the order is Prince Fielder, Casey McGee, and Jim Edmonds, and Greg Zahn, Alcides Escobar, and Jeff Suppan will round it out. And that lineup, Rock will face right-hander Ryan Dempster.
Yeah, Dempster's off to a very nice start this year. Oddly enough, his worst start of the year came against the Brewers, and he got his only win. Brewers hit him around pretty good. 6 1/3 innings for Dempster in that game. He gave up 5 runs.
Ricky Weeks ready to lead off, and the Brewers try to answer a 2-run Cubs first. Weeks batting .339 to start the day, has 3 home runs and 12 driven in. Had 4 hits against the Cubs in that series at Wrigley Field. And Ricky opens the day 3rd in the National League in runs scored with 16. Put it this way, up and down the lineup, the Brewers did a lot of damage in the stat sheet with that offensive output yesterday.
Yeah, Ricky scored 4 runs in yesterday's ball game.
And he bangs that one past Tracy at third. And Weeks is aboard. Boy, that was a hot shot from Ricky Weeks.
Let's keep an eye on Chad Tracy down there at third base. He hasn't played over there too much. Got to wonder if Ramirez makes that play. It will be a base hit. Ricky gets good extension and hammers it down the line. Kind of handcuffed Tracy, and that'll be a base hit.
So an infield hit for Weeks. As we mentioned, Tracy, his best position is first base. Has not played a lot of third base recently, but he's there for Ramirez tonight.
Bit of a tester right away.
Here's Carlos Gomez. And he takes strike 1. Gomez at .262 with 3 driven in. He's done a good job bunting the baseball so far this year. And he squares, drops one down, foul. Or is it? That's a foul ball. Laz Diaz had the call right away. And everybody will reset.
That tough call on Ricky Weeks. They changed that to an error.
Yeah, they just changed it back.
Man, that is a rocket down the line. Tracy able to get his glove on it. That's got to be a hit.
Well, no balls, 2 strikes on Gomez.
I think that's going to get changed again. That ball is hit right on the nose, and really no reaction time for Tracy.
I'll keep it a hit in my scorebook if you want.
I think you should.
All right. I don't mind at all. Almost hit Gomez. Take another look at it.
A one-hop smash. That's got to be a hit. That's no error. Well, that's a tough scoring decision right there for both Tracy and Ricky Weeks.
And Bill Schroeder. I'm going with a hit. Gomez. A little flare in foul territory. First out of the inning. So Gomez unable to advance. Weeks. Let's give you the rest of that Cubs defense. Tyler Colvin, Marlon Byrd, and Kosuke Fukudome in the outfield. The infield is Tracy, Theriot, Fontenot, and Lee. Coy Hill does the catching tonight. Blaines, Farman, Fleet, Cubs defense. No Giovanni Soto tonight for the Chicago Cubs. Soto has been a hot hitter, but he takes the day off after a 4-game series in New York.
Another thing that has been very good for the Cubs so far this year, their defense.
The Cubs have committed 14 errors in 16 games this year.
That defense has been shoddy and pitching late in the game. That's why the Cubs have not been able to hold too many leads.
Weeks over at first for Ryan Braun. Braun had a great day yesterday, as most of the Brewers hitters did, but Braun had 3 hits and he drove in 5 runs. Had a home run yesterday, a 3-run shot, one of the more impressive at-bats of the season yesterday. He saw 9 pitches and not one of the pitches was in the strike zone, and yet he delivered with a 3-run home run that really got the Brewers offense cranking yesterday in Pittsburgh. At that time, he made it 4-0.
Yeah, nobody in the league swinging the bat any better than Ryan Braun right now. You know he can hit strikes, and he showed you yesterday he can hit pitches out of the strike zone. I talked to him after the game about that. He just laughed. I said, is that right?
He's riding a 10-game hitting streak. Braun hitting .452 during the streak. Overall, he's batting .417. Beats that one into the ground. Theriot to second for 1, and it's bobbled out there by Fontenot. So Weeks is out. Fontenot drops the baseball on the exchange, and the inning continues for Prince Fielder.
Man, giving the big man an opportunity, that's got to be a double play. On the exchange, you can see how quickly Ricky's able to get down to second base. An extra out for the Brewers, and it's Prince Fielder.
Fielder hit his first home run of the year last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say. And for the second straight day, did not take batting practice on the field. Fielder did take some swings down in the cage. He's been bothered by a little bit of a bruised hand, his left hand, which is his top hand. But as he told us yesterday, it's not an issue during the game. It's certainly not something he thinks about while the game's going on. It is something, however, that requires a little maintenance before the game.
He says it's not an issue. He doesn't even feel it. I'm going to go with that.
First home run of the season and his 54th at bat. And that one's launched deep center field, and Fielder does it again. Well, Fielder is at second. He's asking for a home run. He wants a replay of that.
Yeah, that ball went out.
The base umpire says it hit the wall, and this one will go to replay. Yeah, it looks like it hit the back of the wall and then out. That's just with one angle. Now,
it's hard to see. It's hard to tell whether it hit the corner of the yellow stripe out in center field.
Well, on that angle, it looked like it hit the yellow pad.
Not sure.
Now, the first base umpire is John Hirschbeck. And
they got to take a look at that.
It's Hirschbeck's decision and only his decision to take a look at the replay.
You can't ask for a replay as a manager, and you cannot dispute the findings of a replay. You got to believe they got to go to the video for this one.
And there they go. John Hirschbeck will lead.
And if they get the replay that we had, it's going to be very tough for them to overturn that. The good thing is that Ryan Braun was, paying attention, because he started around third as if he was going to score, thinking it was a home run.
Here's the rule here, the home run replay. It can only be replayed on a boundary call, meaning this is the situation you could look at it. There's a group in New York that puts the video together, and there is a monitor down underneath that John Hirschbeck will look at, and it'll be his decision. And again, this is probably the best look we have of it. That's tough to call.
Here's the thing. I don't see any depression. Sometimes the wall will give a little bit. There you see the still frame right there. That might have stayed in the ballpark. They're coming out, and I don't think they're going to reverse it.
It's going to stay right as it is. So a double for Fielder as John Hirschbeck pointed everybody back. No, that's why the replay rule is in effect for moments such as these.
Looks like they got it right. Well, another inch, and that ball bounces over. The thing that fools you a little bit on that slow motion replay is the fact that pad didn't give it all. A lot of times when you hit the corner, it will give a little bit. Does it give? I don't know. It looks like it just stays there. It doesn't move at all. I don't know. I'm wearing glasses. I can't tell.
A little bit of give there, but it's part of the new padding here at Miller Park. At any rate, it's going to stay as a double. So after all of that, looks like the umpires got it right. Not a home run. It goes as a double for Prince. And second and third for McGee, who bounces one over to Tracy. And after all of that, the Brewers come up empty. Well, missed it by that much. 2-0 Cubs as we go to the second. Fielder just missing a 2-run homer by inches on the center field wall. Well, earlier today, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel reporter Raquel Rutledge, she threw out the first pitch. She is a Pulitzer Prize winner. She won the award on April 12th. Riveting series of reports that revealed fraud in Wisconsin's child care subsidy program. The series was called Cashing In on Kids. And we congratulate Raquel. She's a Milwaukee native, a graduate of Shorewood High School, the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Great to see her at the ballpark tonight. The Golden Pea, they call it, the Pulitzer Prize.
And she made a pretty good throw, if anybody's interested.
Here's Mike Fontenot to lead off for the Cubs. Well, we've had some action here early. By the way, Rob, Ricky Weeks, it has been reversed back to a single.
Stunning.
So it goes from a hit to an error back to a hit. Fontenot rolls one to Weeks. And one man out for Jeff Suppan in the second.
You know, the official scorer here at Miller Park, Tim O'Driscoll, is far and away the best official scorer in all of baseball. I mean, when we go on the road, we see some god-awful decisions in the favor of the home team. I mean, you would agree with that. I mean, everybody sees it. Wrigley Field, a big culprit of that. But that's a hit in anybody's book right there. I mean, Tim, he calls it pretty much straight up. I mean, he's about as impartial as it gets when you talk about official scores, because there's a lot of homering going on around baseball.
And for the record, don't think Tim O'Driscoll, who is a legendary high school baseball coach here in Wisconsin, is listening to our broadcast. That's something he does not do.
Of course.
We have no influence on Tim O'Driscoll at all.
We are about as biased as it gets. Why would he listen to us?
Exactly. That only demeans his position.
I'll tell you, I'm rooting for Ricky to get a hit. I'm not ashamed of it.
Right. I don't want anybody to think we've got any kind of influence over Tim O'Driscoll. It's not the case.
Or anybody else around here.
They were pretty much concealed to our own quarters here. But a lot going on early here. The Brewers had a defensive miscue in the first, costing Suppan a run. Game started with 3 straight hits. Back-to-back doubles. And a narrow miss from Fielder. Just goes to show you how good these umpires are as well. I mean, that was a call to the naked eye that looked like a home run. James Hoy, second base umpire, was out, and he saw it hit the padding, and
he did the right thing. He called it in play. If you're not sure, you call it in play to allow the play to play out, if you will.
I think that has been the biggest change that we've seen since replay came into play 2 years ago. It was at the end of the 08 season. But if you call it a home run, then there's an issue on where to put the base runners.
Right.
He called it in play, and if it changes to a home run, there's no issue at that point. Suppan strikes out Coy Hill for out number 2.
Now Suppan starting to find his corners a little bit. That pitch, a little comeback sinker on the inside corner. Hey fans, follow the Brewers on your iPhone, iPod Touch, BlackBerry, and Android phone with MLB.com At Bat 2010. It features play-by-play video highlights and live audio broadcasts. Visit Brewers.com today for details.
Here's Ryan Dempster now, Cubs pitcher at the plate. He has a hit this year. He's 1 for 5. Suppan tried to make it a quick inning. Oh, and 2 the count. Got him. Suppan, a 3-up, 3-down inning with 2 strikeouts. So a good bounce back for Sup. And we head to the bottom of the second. Jim Edmonds ready to lead off, the former Cub. Suppan now at 2.
His pitching coach was Rick Peterson. Before the game today, manager Ken Maka told us that Dabney won't have any trouble adapting to his new job, and that if he has any problems, Marcus Hanel and Trevor Hoffman and a whole bunch of veterans will help him out.
Well, that's exactly right. And one thing you need to know about Fred Dabney, and Drew knows this, you know, he's one of these MMA fighters in the offseason. That's how he trains. So he's a bad man down there. You know what I mean?
He's thinking this big league thing's pretty cool. Since he's been here, the Brewers have outscored their opponent 36-1.
It's an easy gig, really.
Before today.
And they haven't lost. Edmonds retired quickly by Dempster. Now Greg's on. Zahn actually had a good series against the Cubs. As he's drilled by a pitch, they'll ask if he went. Wally Bell says no, and Zahn will take his base.
He started to go after it. Hit him right on the elbow. Right on the back of the forearm, actually. Gets first base the hard way. That's going to hurt.
Hey, a reminder, FoxSportsWisconsin.com is your home for all the exclusive news and information on your Brewers. Log on daily for updates, exclusive blogs, complete schedules, and more. FoxSportsWisconsin.com. Local teams, local sports, local connection, dedicated to the hometown fan. Here is Escobar. Alcides comes in, batting an even .300 for the season. He's driven in 6 runs. He leads the National League in triples with 3.
That Brewers as a team lead the National League in triples. Boy, after that series in Pittsburgh, the Brewers really leapfrogged a lot of teams with respect to offensive totals in the National League. Second in team batting average.
Yeah, they went from middle of the pack to second in the league, and their team batting average jumped 21 points.
Yeah, today at 288. Before yesterday, 267. 21-point jump.
The Brewers yesterday had 25 hits in 52 at-bats for the game. Slow roller to Tracy. The lead out at second. No chance to throw Escobar out at first. And Dempster continuing to get his ground balls, and when he's right, that's exactly what he'll do.
Yeah, Brewers only really able to elevate one pitch. That was Prince's double. Boy, that sinker just eats up Escobar. It's got a lot of movement on it. That was actually had a little bit of a fade to a little run as opposed to sink, and just ate him up inside.
Well, here's Suppan now. Suppan was 0 for 3 in his first start of the year at the plate. And only his second game swinging the bat.
Yeah, Brewer pitchers yesterday got 3 hits. Randy Wolf with 2, Manny Parra with a base hit. When it rains, it pours.
Now Parra drove in the 20th run, the record-setting run. And of all of the action yesterday against the Pirates, one of the more entertaining at-bats was Claudio Vargas when he did his best Eddie Goodell impersonation. Stood there and took 3 strikes.
Had no intention of swinging the bat. None.
Little bouncer out to Fontenot. And the side is retired. Dempster is through 2 scoreless. We head to the 3rd. When we come back, we'll talk to Doug Melvin, Brewers general manager, will join us here at the booth. Presented by Piggly Wiggly, the official supermarket of Fox Sports Wisconsin. And by Ho Chunk Casino, your ticket to more. Miller Park, Milwaukee, the I-94 rivalry, the Brewers and the Cubs. And we're pleased to be joined now by Doug Melvin, Brewers general manager, is with us. And I guess right off the bat, we should ask you if you are in favor of the replay rule in Major League Baseball.
Well, I wasn't. I was one of the 5 teams, I think, or 4 or 5 teams that voted against it, because my fear was that once you bring it in, then people are going to want it for other calls, whether it's reaching over the railings or whether it's the ball off the chalk line and that. But I do understand it, and once a decision's made, I accept the fact. And I do think it's good, though, for the home run calls, because it is important to get that call right, because home runs do have a major impact. Other plays have impacts in the game, but the home runs are major impacts in the game.
We saw a Prince Fielder long fly ball, looked like it was out, but it was ruled a double, and then they went to the replay, and it in fact was a double off the top corner of the wall. And great to have you with us here, Doug, and a lot of things to talk about. But of course, what we saw yesterday in Pittsburgh was pretty historic. Anything that you can remember in your long baseball career?
No, I think I was talking to some of the players in the clubhouse today, and they said that that's the first time they've been involved in a 3-game series like that, with that big of advantage. And that, whether one way or the other, you'd hate to be on the other end of it, and that. But it's another day, it's another series, and now you're back in, and it's just something in the past. But it was good to see the bats get hot at the right time, and it gives you a lot of confidence that when you're down in a game like we are tonight, that you can still come back and score some runs.
That series, everybody wants to talk about the bats, but the pitching was pretty good. I mean, 1 run in 3 games. I mean, you got to be pleased about the way, particularly the starting pitching in that series.
Right, and that's important for us. Obviously, our pitching had really struggled, and I know sometimes fans or the talk shows, they don't want to hear you say, well, it's early, but the game is a game of cycles a lot of time, and that it's and you'll go through moments where you're a 10-game stretch where you're not playing very well. I heard Gordon Beckham with the White Sox say that they're struggling right now, and I heard him say that they'll have a 10-game stretch. They just need to go out there and win some games, and everything will fall into place. But the good part was our starting pitching, especially. It's going to be very important for us to get those kind of games.
Fukudome sends one deep to right. Edmonds running out of room, and Fukudome has homered for the Cubs. And it's 3-0 Chicago in the 3rd inning. Second hit for Fukudome. He answers a double and an RBI in the 1st inning with his 2nd home run of the season.
Yeah, everything right now has been up for Jeff Suppan, and you got to figure a controlled pitcher, 8th day for him. Last pitched 8 days ago, so Doug, it's kind of tough for a guy like Suppan. He's kind of a routine-oriented type pitcher, and out of sync a little bit. Everything seems to be upstairs so far.
Yeah, I know that someone had said that the numbers show when he has an extra day's rest, he's better, and that. But I agree, Bill. You get into a routine and that, and you feel like you're throwing well. He hasn't, because he was coming off the DL, hasn't been in that kind of routine. So he is getting the extra time off, but you do have to have your command, no matter what game you go out there. You got to be able to command at least two of your 3 pitches.
Suppan was backed up a couple of days because Ken Maka, and I'm sure discussions he had with you, wanted to split the lefties, Randy Wolf and Doug Davis. Take us through the process and the decision making on why that is important.
Well, I leave that up to them. They tell me that that's something they want to consider doing, and that I just think that they didn't want the 2 of them back to back because they're somewhat similar styles of pitching, and that I don't know if that makes a difference or not, but some people think it does. If the guy's pitching at the back end of one series and starts and then you're playing another team, it doesn't affect it because you're playing 2 different teams. So once the season starts, your rotations are all mixed up, and you don't know who you're going to face. You might have number 4 facing number 1. We might have our number 1 facing somebody's number 5. So I think once the season starts, you just have to go out there and pitch well, regardless when you're pitching.
Anytime you have good pitching, it's it helps to have good defense. And so far, your guys have been playing pretty good defense, up amongst league leaders in that category.
Yeah, the start of the game here, I think we have tied for the fewest errors in the National League with 8. and that. So that obviously helped. But we've improved. We knew our defense would improve with Gomez in center, and we didn't know at the time when we put the club together that Jim Edmonds was going to be here, and he's made some great defensive plays, and his instincts, you can see, are still there. It's something he hasn't lost at all. And with Escobar at short, and Ricky's much improved at second base. So Braun now in his third year playing left field. So I think our defense is going to be fine, though we made an error tonight.
I'm anxious to hear about the Jim Edmonds situation. It kind of reminds me of what you did with Gabe Kapler a few years back. And what was the process to get to Jim Edmonds and get him into Milwaukee for the season?
Well, it's pretty interesting because he's represented by the same agent as Gabe Kapler, as Paul Cohen in Los Angeles, and he had called me. I think we were talking about another player at the time, and he said, just keep in mind that Jim is interested in playing again. And, at the time, I didn't think much of it. And, you look back and asked our people and our scouts, and when they saw him in Chicago and playing, he had 250 at-bats, had 18 home runs, and a player like that, if you're not going to lose a step defensively and speed-wise, and I had heard someone say that he was in great shape. We were told that he was in great shape and he was really energized to go out and play. So you got to give a veteran player the benefit of the doubt a lot of times.
Carlos Gomez will haul this one in. Tagging at second is Lee. That is the second out of the inning. A deep fly ball out from Marlon Byrd, and now 2 outs.
Yeah, you give the veteran a benefit of the doubt if he feels that he can still play and he works at it, and he was willing to come in on a minor league contract and make the ball club, and that showed me a lot that he was willing to do that. He wasn't asking for a lot of money. He said, I have to make the club, and very similar to Gabe Kapler, and I'm glad that he made that decision to choose the Brewers, and I think he wanted to stay in our division if he could, because he does have a restaurant in St. Louis, and he knows the division and our division is a good division for travel. It's a lot less traveling, and that's, so we have a lot of advantages with this division. But he's been a great addition, and because we wanted to get a little more left-handed with our ball club, and he's allowed us to do that with some left-handed hitting.
Let me get your take on Carlos Gomez. We love watching him up here. Sometimes it makes you a little bit nervous. But he's very aggressive. It's tough to tell him to kind of back down on that. That's his game.
Yeah, he's the Energizer Bunny. He's all over the place. Got a smile on his face when he does it too. And there's a lot of things he does that doesn't show up in the statistics and that. And Zach Manassian, that works in our scouting department, pointed out to me yesterday. He said, he on this recent road trip, he had 3 forced errors by the infield. And I think John Graybo went over in a bunt and made an error. Zimmerman, a ball went off his glove, and when he forces teams to make errors, that works against him because he gets an 0 for 1 or an 0 for 2 or 0 for 3 on
it. They know they can't bobble a baseball.
Yeah,
they got to be perfect.
And
right?
statistically, it works against him. So I go beyond some of the stats with Carlos because you can't. I agree, you can't take that aggressiveness away. He loves it. He loves, when you're going out there stealing like he does and aggressive, you got to have that attitude.
Yeah.
And Ricky Henderson was a person that had that attitude. And baseball, when you think of it, we haven't really seen that kind of a player. I can't think of too many of them over the last 10 years. There might be a few I'm missing, but Ricky Henderson. But there's not many that are out there that just want to. They have that. He had a lead yesterday in the game I was watching on TV. I said, "My God, you're going to get picked. He's going to get picked off here." And
fielder gobbles it up to Suppan.
He went on the next pitch and stole the base easy.
5 for 5 in stolen bases. Doug, we always appreciate your time. Great stuff. We appreciate your insights.
Okay, thanks, guys.
As Doug Melvin, Brewers general manager. Top of the order coming up. in a couple of weeks.
Right.
Lush and green, thanks to Scotts. The lawn looks pretty good here at Miller Park as well. 3-0 Cubs as we head to the third inning. Top of the order coming up for Milwaukee. Ricky Weeks singled in the first, had an infield hit, a smash that was off the glove of Tracy at third base. It's good to get a few minutes with Doug Melvin. We try to do that once a homestand and just kind of catch up on what he's thinking from the general manager's post. I think he's just given Carlos Gomez's agent a new stat, though, to go to negotiations with.
Yeah.
Errors forced.
Hey, we've seen pitchers make errors. We saw Iwamura, the second baseman for the Pirates, boot a baseball because Gomez running hard down the line. Love to watch a player run as hard as he possibly can every time he gets a chance.
One ball, 2 strikes on Weeks. Slow roller foul. Well, Dempster is a tough customer on the mound. This guy, since converting from the bullpen to the starting rotation, he has been as dependable as it gets and as maintenance free as you could have it in Chicago.
Yeah.
And for a very drama filled organization, I think Lou Piniella loves when Dempster's turn of the rotation comes up every 5th day.
Now, their starting pitching has been terrific. Everybody except, of course, for Zambrano. Zambrano off to a rough start, an ERA over 7, 1-2 record. Everybody else has been tremendous. They really have.
If you combine the earned run averages of Dempster, Carlos Silva, Randy Wells, and Tom Gorzolani, the other 4 starters, 2.16 is their ERA in 11 starts. Zambrano's ERA was 7.45, which is why Zambrano will head to the bullpen. Here's the 1-2 to Weeks, and down he goes on strikes. Nasty breaking ball from Dempster for his first strikeout. This is what the Cubs starting rotation looks like now. Ted Lilly is ready to make his 2010 debut tomorrow. So Dempster is at the top of their rotation. El Silva's off to a great start. That was a trade the Cubs made with the Mariners, ridding themselves of Milton Bradley and picking up Carlos Silva. Ted Lilly returning from the disabled list tomorrow. And he's always tough, Ted Lilly. There's one other stat with the Chicago Cubs that led to Piniella's decision to send Zambrano in the bullpen. And he has 3 lefties now in his bullpen, with Zambrano setting up Marmol. The Cubs bullpen this year has allowed 18 runs in the 8th inning alone. In 16 games, they're giving up 18 runs in the 8th inning.
Yep, the situational lefties have been very erratic. Jeff Samardzija, a big hard thrower down in that bullpen, he's given up a lot of runs.
Gomez got jammed a little bit, but a base hit. So a 2-strike single for Carlos Gomez and that aggressive turn around first. That's what we're talking about.
And he's not going to be there long. Now Coy Hill, not a bad throwing catcher. Dempster pretty quick to home plate, but it really doesn't matter with Carlos Gomez. He'll get that big lead and take off. Last year, Coy Hill, 40% throwing.
That's exceptional in this day and age. Hill is 0 for 2 this year in caught stealing attempts. Braun with 1 away. Reached on a fielder's choice his last time up. How about the move of Ryan Dempster?
Quick feet, real quick feet. He gets rid of the baseball quickly. He's got the slide step.
Big lead for Gomez, and he's off. And Braun fouls one away.
And had that one stolen easily. And one thing is for sure, down by 3 runs, if you're going to take off with Ryan Braun at the plate, you better make it. Or he might not be able to steal again.
Gomez leads the club with 5 stolen bases. The Brewers have 13 stolen bases as a team, and Rock, they've only been caught once. That's a significant stat. An unusual stat compared to last year's club. Now, last year it took until game 52 for the Brewers to steal 13 bases.
Well, they just didn't have the foot speed that they have this year. And when you consider Carlos Gomez, you've got Ricky Weeks in the lineup. He was only in the lineup, what, 6 weeks? At most. Alcides Escobar, much faster runner than J.J. Hardy.
Remember last year, opening day in San Francisco, the Brewers stole 4 bases.
And had 4 probably at the end of May.
And it took until June 2nd to steal their 13th base. They had 2 stolen bases that day against the Marlins. And here we are in game number 15 of the year, game number 16, I should say. And the Brewers have 13 bags already.
Ideal running count right here.
2 balls, 1 strike. Gomez stays put. Braun pops it up. Fukudome will settle under it and make the catch for out number 2.
Had a good pitch to hit. A mistake by Dempster. Pitch up in the zone. Able to get it on Ryan that time.
Well, here comes Prince, and we show you this home run from 2008 to establish a trend for Fielder. That was in his 54th at-bat. And yesterday, in his 54th at-bat of the season, he hit his first home run. Now, Prince hit 34 in 08. But the Brewers went to the postseason that year. Fielder missed his second home run of the season by inches. Back in the first inning, a Powerball home run leaderboard has Ryan Braun at the top with 5. Braun's currently tied for 4th in the National League in home runs. Casey McGee with 4.
Yeah, Corey Hart's having a tough time finding that starting lineup.
Gomez takes off. Fielder lets him run, and an easy steal at second base. Carlos Gomez has 6 stolen bases now.
And none of them really close. I mean, he's stealing him by quite a bit. He looks in to see where the baseball is. That's always a good idea. It never slows you down. I wouldn't know that. Davey Nelson told me that. Davey used to be able to steal bases. Nothing wrong with looking in and knowing where that baseball is.
Fielder on the ground into the shift, and the side is retired. So Dempster continuing to get his ground ball out, and he's got 3 shutout innings on the board against the Brew Crew. after a 20-run, 25-hit game yesterday. But Dale, how do you move forward to the next day after a performance like that?
To tell you the truth, I don't know. I've never been in one of them situations before, to tell you the truth. But you know, these guys are all professionals, and you know, they come out and they've all been swinging the bats really well, and you just hopefully it continues. Dempster's obviously keeping us at bay right now. I've hit some balls hard and got a few things going, and Prince almost had a 2-run homer there, and so we're all right. We're in the ball game, and as long as the Soup keeps it there, then give this kind of offense a chance to get back in it.
Dale, how do you explain the success of Jim Edmonds? I mean, here's a guy pushing 40, missed all of last year, and really doesn't seem like he's missed a beat. He's actually better than he was 2 years ago.
Well, I think he's probably very motivated. To sit out a year and then to come back and work like he has, and obviously swinging the bat like we wish he could, and he's been doing that. So it's been a big lift to this offense, and to have that kind of left-handed power and leadership on a ball club is huge for us.
You guys got to be tickled to death to have Ricky Weeks back in that leadoff spot. On base percentage about 500. He's picking up right where he left off last year.
Yeah, Chad Tracy was probably lucky that ball wasn't right at him in that first inning. And it was funny, our guy gave it an error at first. We were a little shocked, but it was probably one of the hardest balls you'll ever see hit the third, especially if it would have been given an error.
Dale, we just saw Carlos Gomez. He stole his 6th base. What's the philosophy on the running game, especially out in front of Braun and Fielder, as Escobar cannot make the play here? But the philosophy in front of Braun and Fielder as far as the running game is concerned.
Well, I think it comes down to, a guy that's basically going to probably be 90% successful rate in stealing a base. He's so fast and so good at it. And, just come down to it. Casey's been so dang good swinging the bat behind Prince that, hey, if they want to put more base runners on and Prince is patient there, hey, we just got another base runner on if they don't want to pitch to Prince with Edmonds back there and Casey McGee.
It's great perspective. We appreciate your time tonight, Dale.
All right, guys.
Let you get back to work. Dale Swain, Brewers hitting coach. So the running game has a lot to do with how successful the man behind Prince Fielder is swinging the bat.
Yeah, when you have a lineup, particularly the middle of the order, that can all hit the ball out of the ballpark, particularly at Miller Park. Yeah, if you steal, you get another man on, somebody knocks one out of here. I guess it's the philosophy. But I think if Gomez takes off in front of Ryan Braun, particularly when the Brewers are down by 3-4 runs, you got to make it. You can't get thrown out. You have to be sure you're going to be able to make it. Get a good jump. If you don't, stay put.
One man out for Dempster, who's trying to bunt Coy Hill to second base. And he bunts another one foul, so it's 0-2 on Dempster. Now, there have been days prior to Casey McGee's emergence when you might put a stop sign on a guy with Fielder at the plate. If he does steal second, that only opens the door for the opposition to walk Prince Fielder.
And when they did that last year, Casey was able to drive him in. Not a bad scenario.
So it's green light for Gomez, courtesy of Casey McGee. So maybe Carlos's agent should also bring that into negotiations with Doug Melvin. That's why it's a team game, right? 2-strike bunt by Dempster. Suppan thought about second. He'll take the shore out at first.
Sounds
2 gone.
Sounds like your Gomez agent.
My point is, everybody plays off everybody else. One leads to the next. Our AT&T trivia tonight was yesterday's 20-0 Brewers win over the Pirates, the most lopsided shutout ever. It was the most lopsided shutout in Brewers history.
And the worst defeat ever for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Ever. In their long and storied franchise. Did not know that yesterday.
One of the originals. So that's a question to chew on for a little bit. We'll have the answer for you next half inning. Or whenever Michael Vetter decides, we'll have the answer for you. He's the man running the show in the truck. Top of the order here, Ryan Theriot with a runner at second. Lines one to right center. Gomez can't cut it off. That goes to the wall. Another run is in. Theriot around second, on his way to third. And he'll make it with a triple. RBI triple for Ryan Theriot, and it's 4-0 Chicago.
Oh, that guy just absolutely murders the Brewers. incredible the way this guy can swing the bat against Milwaukee. Coming in at 266. Not terrible for the season batting average, but when he plays the Brewers, this guy's on 2-3 times a night. He scored a run, and now he's driven in a run.
He's hit the ball hard all 3 times up. Terrio now a double and a triple. His 6 RBI. It's 4-0 Chicago. And Suppan has to deal with Fukudome with a runner at third. Fukudome homered off of him his last time up. A double and a home run for Fukudome. Has 2 RBIs. Carlos Zambrano has made his way to the Cubs bullpen. It's got to be an unusual spot for him. We've been told he's not available today, but will be tomorrow.
Well, with the way he's pitching, you hope he gets in there. Hasn't been pitching all that well.
Good block by Zahn. So an unfamiliar walk between innings with his closer Carlos Marmol out to the bullpen. For those of you wondering when late relievers make their way to the bullpen, well, there you go. The Cubs, it's between the 3rd and the 4th inning. What do they do prior to that, Rock?
I don't know.
Clubhouse?
I don't know. Probably sit in the dugout for a little bit. Well, if you're Carlos Marmol, you might go through a stretching program, maybe get some heat on the elbow. I don't know. When I was told to go to the bullpen, I was there well before the game.
Oh, yeah. You were warming up the starting pitcher.
I didn't have the luxury of sitting around getting a rub down.
Hitters count for Fukudome.
Actually, I was the guy that actually warmed up the starting pitcher. I was down there well before the game started.
Rock, you'll be interested to know that your 6th through 8th grade students can win a school visit from a Milwaukee Brewers player during Milwaukee Brewers Score for Excellence Day on Friday, May 28th. Just visit Brewers.com, download the entry form, and your kids could score for excellence with the Brewers. Always a great event. I enjoyed, speaking of closers, watching Trevor Hoffman in action last year at the Score event.
Yeah.
Might have delivered the best Score Day speech I've ever heard. Had a bunch of kindergarten through 5th graders completely enthralled in what he was saying. It's hard to keep those kids quiet for that long.
It was hard for you not to drop down and do a couple of one-arm push-ups.
That's right.
Can you do one-arm push-ups?
Yeah, sure.
Can you?
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Well, every day we do them every day. Chris Joyner workout plan, the broadcaster training facility. I've noticed you haven't been there in a while.
No. I'm on my own program, you know that.
That's right. I told Dale Swaim you were trying to get back to your playing weight, and he said you are currently at your playing weight.
Who said that?
That was the hitting coach, Dale Swaim. He seems to remember you maybe a lot heavier than your baseball card would indicate during your playing days.
You got to take everything that Dale will tell you about me back in those days with a grain of salt.
Suppan trying to stop the bleeding here. 4 runs are in for the Cubs. And Dempster pitching well. Chris Narveson beginning to get loose. Under the watchful eye of Fred Dabney, new bullpen coach.
Narveson had, up until that series against the Pirates, been worked quite a bit. He'd been up a lot. He's been in a lot of games, and Only appeared once in that Pirates series.
2 balls and a strike on Derek Lee. Well, this is a big spot for Suppan right here. Derek Lee could do significant damage. He could chase Suppan with a home run here, possibly a base hit. 24 career hits off Jeff Suppan. Leads all active players. Lee had an infield hit in the first. He walked his last time up. We talked about the protection that Casey McGee offers Prince Fielder. You wonder how Suppan views this lineup with Chad Tracy batting behind Derek Lee today. We'll find out. 2-2 is an off-speed pitch, and the count goes full.
Well, anytime you have an opportunity to not throw strikes to Derek Lee, you're best off doing it, particularly when you have numbers like Derek Lee against Sup. Derek Lee, a good eye, taking that slider off the outside corner.
Full count, 2 outs. Fukudome will start with the pitch at first. And there he goes, and Lee swings on the ground to Escobar. Great play. Can he finish it off? Indeed. Some kind of play by Alcides Escobar. So Suppan and the Brewers are out of the inning. The slick fielding rookie shortstop takes care of Derek Lee.
RBI double in the first inning, driving in Ryan Theriot. Fukudome in the third, his second home run of the year. And there's that guy again, Ryan Theriot, the leadoff hitter, driving in a run with a triple. And Ryan Dempster continues his magic against the Brewers. 3 shutout innings, and has only given up 3 base hits.
Well, the Brewers were inches away from a 2-run homer by Fielder back in the first. Hit the top corner padding of the wall in center field and came back in. It was ruled a double. Brewers could not score in that first inning. And a lot of ground ball outs from Dempster, which is what he does when he's pitching well. Casey McGee, a ball and 2 strikes. Casey's been a hot hitter this year. He's sitting on an 11-game hit streak right now. And that one is gloved by Tracy. Look what I found. Nice play by Chad Tracy to gun down Casey McGee.
Yeah, look at the other hand. You've got a television set. Wow, that's a nice play by Tracy. Going down and snared in the webbing and able to make the throw to first base. Well done. Good play.
I mean, it wasn't the most graceful of plays, but that was a good play to get it out on a hot shot from McGee.
Now, when we talked to Dale Swaim, he said that the Brewers have hit some balls hard today. They indeed have.
So 1 out, and here's Jim Edmonds. Edmonds was our player of the game yesterday. All that offense that was posted. And it was Jim Edmonds who had the best day. He was 4 for 6. Drove in 3 runs. Had his first home run as a Brewer. He was a triple away from the cycle.
Any other ballpark but PNC, he has 3 home runs yesterday.
That's a good point.
Hit a couple of doubles into that corner where it's 4-10 in the gap in left center.
Well, yesterday Edmonds got the chance in the starting lineup, and there's that corner that Rock's talking about. Just a beautiful left-handed stroke. Classic Jim Edmonds swing. That was his first Brewers home run. And that came in the 7th inning. And Dempster strikes him out.
That's a good changeup. Wow.
Well, 2 outs in the 4th. We check in with Drew Olson.
Guys, time for our crew in the community. The 81st Major League Baseball All-Star Game is July 13th at Angel Stadium of Anaheim. But the balloting begins tomorrow. Fans can vote in park beginning of the game tomorrow night and also online beginning at 2 o'clock. And guys, one of the most internet-savvy players we've had come through here in recent years was Chris Capuano. He's making a rehab start for Brevard County on Tuesday. They hope to pitch him twice, maybe 3 times down there, and then get him up to AAA Nashville.
A good report on Capuano as he tries to come back from 2 Tommy John surgeries, ligament replacement surgeries. Interesting that Edmonds is on the Milwaukee Brewers All-Star ballot, not Corey Hart. I think Edmonds was surprised that he was on the ballot.
A lot of it has to do with who starts on opening day for your team.
And Jim Edmonds was indeed the opening day starter at right.
Not that every one of your opening day starters is going to be out there if there's an injury, but it's kind of one of those situations where it's not guaranteed that Corey Hart was going to get all the playing time in the outfield. So because he started opening day, he's on the ballot.
Back to our AT&T trivia. Was yesterday's 20-0 Brewers win over the Pirates the most lopsided shutout ever? The answer is no. The Indians shut out the Yankees in 2004. 22-0. And just to give you an idea what allowing the opposition to score 20 runs means, it doesn't mean much, because last year the Cleveland Indians went into the 20s against the Yankees in April of last season, and New York went on to shake it off and win the World Series.
Right. Didn't affect anybody too much.
Derek Lee, the Gold Glover, will make the play for the out. The inning is over, and a 3-up, 3-down frame for Dempster. Cubs have the lead at Miller Park, Milwaukee. It's 4-0 as we head to the 5th inning. Jeff Suppan back on the mound. A great crowd tonight. Be close to a sellout this evening, as it will be the rest of the weekend here. Always is when the Cubs are in town, and a lot of Cubs fans always come to Milwaukee. Why wouldn't you want to come to Miller Park? You know you're going to play baseball. It's comfortable. It's a beautiful setting. There is plenty of room in the concourses.
To say nothing about some good baseball. The Brewers have been playing some pretty good ball lately.
Suppan to face Chad Tracy to start this 5th inning.
Success on the field for the Brewers has a lot to do with the attendance. But you're right about the other stuff. You don't have to worry about rainouts. Hasn't been a rainout in baseball yet.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's raining outside right now in Milwaukee. We might actually have a rainout tonight if the roof wasn't here. So we'll keep that streak intact. Tracy's had a good day with a glove. He's made a couple of nice plays over at third base. In for Aramis Ramirez tonight. Gets out in front of that one. Jim Edmonds toward the track. He'll run it down. And it's out number 1 for Jeff Suppan.
Hey, fans, now at Pizza Hut to May 23rd, order any $10 large pizza plus breadsticks or stuffed pizza rollers and get a free ticket voucher to a Brewers game. Only at your Pizza Hut. That's a good deal. Pizza sound good right now.
Good time for it. Middle innings, you know, kind of a mid-game snack.
Right. Pizza always sounds good.
Here's Marlon Byrd. 0 for 2 against Suppan. He sent Gomez to the warning track in center field his last time up. Ball and a strike.
Soup's doing a better job of keeping the ball down. That was a big overhand curveball that time.
Bird gets jammed, but that one is going to fall for a base hit. Well, he's a good hitter, and that's what good hitters do.
Yeah, not much you can do about that. That was a well-placed fastball up and in. Tried to tie him up inside. And Marlon Byrd able to fight it off down on the fists and muscles it into center field. That's a hat tipper right there.
I had a conversation with Dale Swaim about quote-unquote cheap hits. He said, you know, the guys who keep the bat in the hitting zone the longest, those are the ones who get the bloops. They're also the ones who obviously hit for a high average and hit the ball hard, but when your timing is not exactly right, if your bat is in the hitting zone longer than most, and you're going to get your fair share of cheap hits.
Yeah. It's those guys that have that loopy swing, that bat in and out of the strike zone very quick, or if you have an uppercut, that's when you have to center on the baseball pretty well. But, you know, most hits that aren't hit very hard and, you know, flares into the outfield come on pitches up in the strike zone. So pitchers should very rarely complain about a cheap hit, because if they're down in the zone, they're ground balls and they're easy outs.
That's a good point.
Of course, we just saw a pitch that wasn't bad that Suppan threw after a slow curve ball. It come up and in, and Marlon Byrd just fought it off. That was a good piece of hitting.
Now Suppan needs a ground ball. Tyler Colvin is the batter. And he flares one into left. That ball is going to fall for a base hit. So back-to-back snorts by the Chicago Cubs, and Suppan in trouble once again.
Yeah, talking about keeping your bat in the hitting zone a long time. A pitch up in the zone. It was away, but it was up a little bit more than Suppan wanted it, and just dumps it down the line off the end of the bat. Let's see where it is. It says it's off the outside corner, down in the zone. It looked like it was up more than that. Tyler Colvin, you were talking about keeping the bat in the hitting zone. I mean, he's got a classic left-handed swing, and that bat stays in there a long time. So a couple of pretty good pitches by Suppan end up costing him a couple of base hits.
And quickly, Claudio Vargas begins to get loose. Suppan had a 24-pitch first inning. Cubs scored twice, but Suppan could have easily been out of that inning with just one run. Gave up the home run in the third. RBI triple by Theriot in the fourth. And that was a 2-out hit by Theriot in the fourth inning. 4-0 Cubs on 9 hits. And now here comes Rick Peterson, as Ken Maka is buying his bullpen time to get loosened up.
Well, Claudio just got up, so he's a ways away. I don't think even Rick Peterson can stall long enough to allow Vargas to get ready. He just started.
So Peterson will have his say, and the meeting is broken up. Don't forget, tomorrow the Brewers are on WMLW, but a great weekend of sports on Fox Sports Wisconsin, as the Bucks are in action tomorrow. 5:30 is airtime tomorrow for Bucks Live, and the Brewers underway at 6 o'clock. Good sports weekend here in Milwaukee with the NBA playoffs and the Cubs Brewers series. Always great rivals on the diamond. So 2 on and 1 out. And Fontenot back up the middle, a base hit. Marlon Byrd around third. He's going to try to score. Gomez has a great arm to throw, and it is in time, but it pops out of the glove of Zahn. A run scores. Colvin advances as Byrd is safe at the plate, and it's 5-0 Cubs.
Boy, everybody got there at the same time. The baseball, Marlon Byrd, and Greg Zahn really never had control of the baseball. That's not a bad pitch. I mean, that ball's down. Mike Fontenot likes the ball down, and look at Carlos Gomez. Look at the throwing arm right on the money. A tough hop by Zahn, who you got to wonder how that leg's feeling right now. You see the way he stretched the leg out to try and block the plate, and Byrd took it out. Well, that had to hurt. But Zahn never had the baseball.
Well, and that's going to do it for Jeff Suppan. So Sup will be lifted. 3 straight singles here in the 5th inning. And 5 runs in for the Chicago Cubs as Maka makes a call to the pen and Claudio Vargas. Take a timeout. Vargas trying to get through a mess here in the 5th.
902-4572. Tunas gets 40 Miller Lite beer pen tickets to a Brewers home game this year. This offer courtesy of the Tavern League of Wisconsin and our great friends at Miller Lite.
Well, a tough luck inning for Jeff Suppan here in the 5th. Got the first man out, and then Bird, a little handle shot to center. A ball not all that well hit. Then Colvin right off the end of the bat dumps one into left. Fontenot then answers with a shot back up the middle. Close play at the plate as Gomez almost throws out Marlon Bird. But 3 straight hits against Suppan. And the Cubs lead at 5-0 in the end of the night for the Brewers starter. 10 hits allowed and 4 to third for Suppan. Still 2 runners that are his responsibility. And now it's Claudio Vargas to try to strand him on base.
Yeah, he needs a ground ball right here to turn the double play, get out of this mess. Tough start to the year for Claudio. 6th appearance and an ERA over 8. Got to get the ball down, get a ground ball. Got the catcher up. Good double play candidate.
Switch hitter Coy Hill at the plate. He reached on an infield hit his last time up. And he scored the 4th Cubs run. Well, the ball game is at a critical point right here. Ryan Dempster is pitching well. He's coming off a 3-up, 3-down inning in the 4th. He's working on a 3-hit shutout. And now the Brewers find themselves down 5 runs. Snap throw to third and a close play, but Colvin is back.
Any way you can try to get yourself out of an inning. And that's a sign that Casey McGee and Dawn have between each other. Much easier to do with a left-handed hitter up there, and Colvin able to get back.
Defense set up for a ground ball double play opportunity. And Vargas falls behind 2-1. One thing we've been keeping an eye on this year is the velocity of Claudio Vargas. And it has been down a little bit from what we saw a season ago. Last year he came in, he was throwing the ball hard. He was 93, 94 miles an hour. He's been hovering around 90 most of the time this year. We're in the high 80s.
One thing we've seen, though, with Claudio, he might have lost a little bit of velocity, but it appears to me that he's got a little bit more movement, almost as if he's doing it on purpose to get that sink in certain situations.
Well, we thought maybe he was in a little dead arm period or perhaps a little stiffness. We asked him how he was feeling. He said, fine, my arm feels good. And the reason you keep a closer eye on Vargas, he had an arm issue last year with his elbow, and then he was shut down for a couple of weeks in spring training this year with a shoulder issue. The 2-2 just missed.
Yeah, every pitcher goes through that dead arm period that you're talking about. It's not that your arm hurts or you're feeling any discomfort. You just feel like you don't have a whole lot of life to your pitches. Plenty of life to that one, just missed. Tough pitch to take.
That's the kind of pitch that sometimes will result in a ground ball, especially in a 2-strike count. Nice take by Coy Hill.
But that dead arm period is something that you're able to work through during spring training. But the fact that he missed as much time as he did, he really didn't go through that. And you're going to go through it at some point, either early in the season or through spring training. Position players go through that as well. Dead bat period. Some never get over it.
Yeah, some make a career of it, actually. Many of those become broadcasters.
Yes, they do.
Runner goes, and it's lined into left center. Gomez can't get it. Another run is going to score. And a hit and run to perfection. The Cubs now lead it 6-0. Good piece of hitting by Coy Hill.
Yeah, check it out. Pitch out away from him, and Coy Hill goes right with it. That's a good piece of hitting right there. Carlos Gomez playing deep out there in center field, not able to get there. He played it on the hop. So 4 consecutive singles, played 2 runs after Suppan was able to get the leadoff hitter.
And that run will be charged to Suppan. Let's check in with Drew Olson.
Guys, when the pitching matchups for this series were announced, Ken Maka pointed out that every time we play the Cubs, seems like Ryan Dempster starts the first game. Well, Adam McCalvey from Brewers.com went and looked it up, and sure enough, this is the 4th time in 5 series against the Brewers that Dempster started the opener.
Casey McGee will take care of Dempster at first base. So 2 outs. Tonight's Carsoup.com email the booth question comes from Justin. He's in Madison, and he wants to know, do you think the Brewers will follow the Padres' lead and retire Trevor Hoffman's number after he retires?
That's a good one. Hasn't been here that long.
What do you think about some of the retired numbers that are up there? Raleigh Fingers comes to mind, 34.
He went there long, 2 years.
I say why not?
Oh, yeah.
There's plenty of room for a 51 up there.
Now getting back to that Drew Olson hit. I guess that's an ideal situation for Lou Piniella and the Cubs, right? I mean, he's probably their best. When you say he's been their most consistent starter over the last couple of years, that's the way you want to start a series. Right. And it just works out that way. It's not that the Cubs plan it that way.
Now the Cubs will miss the top 2 Brewer starters in Randy Wolf and Giovanni Gallardo, and it's the second time around the Cubs have missed the top 2 in the starting rotation for the Crew. Randy Wolf, yesterday's winner. Wolf, Gallardo, and Dave Bush, the 3 starting pitchers with consecutive wins on that road trip. Until Bush won on Tuesday in Pittsburgh, Randy Wolf was the only starting pitcher to win a ball game this year.
They went 2 weeks without a starting pitcher winning a ball game. That's a long time.
And now 3 in a row. The starter will not win this one. Only a major run offensively will take Suppan off the hook in this game. It's 6-0 Cubs. And Terrio lines one to right. That is slicing foul. Deadly to the opposite field is Ryan Terrio.
Hey, you got to force this guy to pull the baseball. He loves the ball up and away. He just slaps it to the opposite field. His base hits. The double and the triple have come to right center. We got to reevaluate that scouting report on this guy. Somebody's getting him out.
Terrio with 2 hits tonight, a double and a triple, and his out was a line drive bullet to right field. So he's squared up all 3 times against Brewer pitching. Second and third, 2 outs. Got him. Vargas strikes him out. And the inning ends, but the Cubs score twice on 4 consecutive hits. To the bottom of the 5th we go. The Brewers got a lot of work to do tonight against Dempster. less are half price. Plus small Pepsi products and Clements hot dogs are just $1 each. These seats include Loge outfield, terrace box, terrace reserved, field bleachers, Loge bleachers, and Bernie's terrace. You got all that? And it excludes the all-inclusive areas and the $1 euchre seats. Spring Madness at Miller Park. Ryan Dempster, 4 shutout innings. He's allowed 3 hits at this point. Ricky Weeks, Carlos Gomez, and Prince Fielder with the hits. Fielder almost hit one out. He hit the top corner of the wall in center field. Came back for a double.
Yeah, would have tied the game. Might have been a little different at this point. Had that ball going another inch.
Cubs have kept a hammer down. They lead it 6-0 as Escobar leads off. Escobar reached on a fielder's choice his last time up. And a little flare into right. Well positioned was Fukudome for out number 1. Well, our Miller Lite What's on Tap. Again, we're on WMLW tomorrow. Brewers and the Cubs. 6 o'clock is airtime tomorrow. It's going to be Doug Davis against Ted Lilly. And then back on Fox Sports Wisconsin Sunday for the finale of this series. Monday's telecast has moved from Fox Sports Wisconsin to WMLW. So even though your pocket schedules might say Fox Sports Wisconsin, we're on WMLW to make room for the Bucks. So that'll be Monday. Joe Inglet pinch hitting for Claudio Vargas. And a base hit for Joe Inglet. He's been impressive coming off the bench. He now has 3 hits in 8 at-bats. 2 of his 3 hits are triples. And a pinch hit single to give the Brewers a base runner in the 5th.
Yeah, pinch hit yesterday in the 7th inning. Actually got 2 at-bats. A triple and a line out to short yesterday, and bangs one right back through the middle. Not easy to sit on that bench as much as he has and go up there and get base hits. He's the only position player that hasn't started a game for Ken Maka.
Well, you think about where Inglet is right now, getting occasional pinch hit opportunities. That's exactly where Casey McGee was last year at this time. And as good as McGee has been, it took him 6 weeks to get into the starting lineup, and Joe Inglet says he thinks about that all the time and understands that's his role and got to take advantage of the opportunities when they come. Ricky Weeks off the glove. Oh, what a play by Fontenot to second for 1. They don't turn the double play, but that was as good as you can do it at the second base position.
That ball actually went off Ryan Dempster's glove, redirected it towards Fontenot, who made a tremendous play. How about this? Line drive right back through the middle off of Dempster's glove. Fontenot able to dive for it, and they almost turned a double play. Tremendous play by the Cubs. There it is, a deflection. And they're almost able to turn 2.
Well, college teammates at LSU, Theriot and Fontenot, and that was something special from the Cubs second baseman right there.
What do you think of that facial hair from Fontenot? What's he got going on there?
Kind of old world in its look.
Yeah. So he's got a beard, but no mustache. Not sure what you call that.
Yeah.
I think he's got something going there. That's new.
Very Davy Crockett.
Call it a Fontenot.
Right. Well, that was a nice play. Tip your hat to him. Weeks robbed of a hit. Dempster slowed it down just enough. And here's Gomez now with 2 outs.
Yeah, if Dempster doesn't get a piece of that baseball, it's into center field. I mean, yeah, Dempster, after he gets rid of the baseball, it really does square himself nicely and fields his position well. Good athlete.
The putout goes 1-4-6 if you're keeping the scorecard at home.
The Fontenot.
I like that. Like 12-point or 10-point. aerial?
I've never seen it. Never seen it before, have you? The beard with no mustache.
See Abraham Lincoln look. It's not like you to notice that kind of stuff, though. I'm interested to find out why.
I thought for a minute it was like mutton chops that were hanging down, but it goes under his chin.
Gomez swings and misses, and the inning is over. So Dempster threw 5, no runs, 6-0 Cubs. For Fielder hit the corner padding on the yellow line. It was ruled a double, and rightly so. After replay, it stood up. Fukudome is homered for the Cubs. He's driven in a pair. And 4 consecutive hits against Suppan and Vargas in the 5th. And the Cubs have opened it up a little bit, 6-0, as Ryan Dempster is working on a 4-hit shutout through the first 5 innings. First game of this 3-game series with Chicago. Cubs took 2 out of 3 from the Brewers at Wrigley Field as Manny Parra is on the mound. There is a fan loose on the field. Actually, 2 fans. And it did not end well for him. We don't show you because we don't want to give him any unnecessary airtime, but that's never a good idea. It may seem like a good idea, but it's not. So now they've got to head back to the county jail. Manny Parra in the pitch in relief of Vargas, and he'll face Fukudome to start this 6th inning.
Yeah, Manny off to a pretty good start this season. 7th appearance, 5 2/3. He's given up 7 hits, but has not allowed a run. No walks and 4 strikeouts from Manny. And a base hit.
He drove in the 20th run yesterday using Jody Garrett's bat. Manny hasn't swung the bat since spring training.
Oh, when he was starting for the Brewers, he was handled the bat pretty well. Takes a pretty good hack.
First baseman in college. It's kind of how the day went yesterday. Different story here tonight, as the Brewers are being shut out on 4 hits. Fukudome has been on base all 3 times. A double, a home run, and a walk he's driven into. now hitting .326. This guy is a tough out in the first half of the season. 1-2.
He covers both sides pretty well. I mean, you try and bust him inside, he can pull it, hit the home runs. And if you pitch him away, you got to get it down in the strike zone. His history with Chicago, and not so much last year, but his first year, he tired out at the end of the season. Last 2 months, dreadful for Fukudome. A little bit better last year, though.
Fukudome is in the final year of a 3-year contract. Came from the Japanese major leagues, Shinichi Dragons. He was an MVP over there and a multiple All-Star. And that time he went. Manny Parra strikes him out. First out of the inning for Parra in the 6th. A reminder that this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Brewers and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent of the Milwaukee Brewers. Big crowd tonight. Brewers fans kept quiet. A 6-0 Cubs lead. Cubs have played well here at Miller Park. Going back 3 years, they are 18-11 here at this ballpark.
And they play well here even when the Brewers are not here to play them.
That's right. That doesn't count the sweep of the Astros that they had 2 years ago. Remember, Carlos Zambrano threw the no-hitter here at Miller Park against Houston. Houston was a home team in that series. Hurricanes swept through southeast Texas, and the Astros didn't have a ballpark to play in.
Yeah. Hey, lately the Brewers have played the Cubs better at Wrigley Field than they have here at Miller Park. That's a good pitch on the corner.
Zambrano going through his exercises. Right on the corner.
Looked pretty good.
(3-1) to Derek Lee. And it's ball 4. So Lee is aboard for the 3rd time. His 2nd walk to go along with an infield hit and a base runner for the Cubs. Here comes Chad Tracy.
Well, it's a 6-0 lead. You figure that Lou Piniella is going to keep his right-handed hitters on the bench. And he's got a number of pretty good ones on that bench. We've already talked about it. Ramirez Soriano, Giovanni Soto, Jeff Baker, and Xavier Nady.
Tracy cannot check a swing. It's strike 1. Well, Lou Piniella had to answer some questions before the game today about his lineup. A club that has not been hitting. And tonight he has 3 starters out of the lineup. Strike 2 on Tracy. No Aramis Ramirez. No Giovanni Soto. And no Alfonso Soriano. And yet the 3 players that replace those frontline starters have all had success tonight. Tracy's in there for Ramirez. He's 1 for 3 and has made a couple of nice defensive plays.
Yeah, and 2 of the 3 that you talked about have been swinging the bat very well. Aramis Ramirez in the midst of an 0 for 19. That's why he's not playing.
Soto and Soriano are both hot hitters. Dempster and Fontenot discussing facial hair.
Just the opposite of each other.
Maybe that's where it went. If you cut and paste Dempster's goatee onto Fontenot, then you have a full beard. That's all I'm saying. It's like a puzzle. Swing and a miss. Down goes Tracy. Second strikeout for Manny Parra.
That's where you want a good 2-strike pitch. Down in the zone. Look like a splitter. A splitter or a slider. One of the two. I'm not sure what it is. Slider. And once again, Greg Zaun's able to keep it in front of him. He's done a nice job with that so far this year.
Two outs, both on strikeouts. And here's Marlon Byrd. And that one skips away. Lee takes off, and a poor throw from Zaun, and Lee is in there. That one got away from him a little bit. Derek Lee heads up base running, makes it to second base on a wild pitch.
Yeah, Greg Zaun was surprised that he took off. He blocked it. He wasn't able to really keep it in front of him a whole lot. Actually hit the home plate umpire. That's what it did. Laz Diaz. Glove comes up. Diaz gets it in the leg, and Zaun a little surprised that Derek Lee took off.
Parra is a tough guy to catch. He throws a lot of wild pitches with that split finger that's down in the dirt. That's what the Brewers want him to do. They want him to throw that pitch down. Split fingers that are left up in the strike zone usually end up in the seats. There's a strike. 1-1 to count on Byrd. This will be a good matchup for Parra to find out exactly where his stuff is right now. Bird's a good hitter.
There's that splitter right there. 87 miles an hour. Right where you want it, down around the ankles. The key to a good split-fingered fastball, it has to be over the plate. If it's in or if it's away, hitter's not going to swing at it. If it's over the plate and it dives right at the last second, you're going to get the swing.
Another good block by Zaun. 2-2 the count on Byrd. Parra has kind of evolved into the situational left-hander for Ken Maka. A chance to maybe go multiple innings here today. I think Parra and Narveson both pitching out of the bullpen with hopes that they'll get a chance in the starting rotation. So every inning is an important one for Manny Parra and Chris Narveson. Well, put a fastball by him, or did he? No, he took a little off. Little split finger fastball from Manny Parra to strike out, and now the big boys are coming up. See if the Brewers can do some damage to Ryan Dempster finally. by the Wisconsin Lottery and its family of instant scratch games. Odds are you'll like them. By Airtran. Go. There's nothing stopping you. And by GMC. We are professional grade. Big crowd at Miller Park tonight. On a rainy night in Milwaukee, the Cubs out to a 6-0 lead over the Brewers in their first matchup here at Miller Park. 6-0 as we head to the 6th inning. Brewers coming up in the home 6. Ryan Braun, Prince Fielder, and Casey McGee right in the middle of the order. Well, the Cubs have had a lot of trouble in their middle relief. The Brewers trying to get to that middle relief. Ryan Braun now with 5 home runs. The Powerball home run count for Braun. Tied for 4th in the league. Braun comes in 2nd in the league in batting. 4th in home runs. Tied for the league lead with Matt Kemp in RBIs. He's also the league leader in hits and slugging percentage. And only Ivan Rodriguez has a higher batting average to start the day. It's got to be the shoes.
Got to be the white shoes. Last time Ryan had those on was Jackie Robinson Day.
They actually have their Jackie Robinson special shoes. They have 42 sticks in the back. I don't know if you can see it because his pants are.
He had a huge day. You know, the question was with Ryan, are you going to wear them again?
He said only at home.
I don't think the black cleats are too bad for him either.
He seems like he can hit with any shoes, really.
He'd probably go up there with shower shoes on and get home runs.
Those are reminiscent of the kind of shoes you would have worn at Clemson, the white shoes.
Right. Yeah. White shoes with some orange trim.
Revolutionary at the time.
Yeah.
Braun hits one to left, got jammed a little bit. And Colvin will make the catch for the out. First time Tyler Colvin has been involved in a play today. Our Ho-Chunk Gaming Wisconsin text question. Adam in Grafton wants to know what is harder, going from the bullpen to the rotation or the rotation to the bullpen?
I think physically it's a little bit more difficult to go from the bullpen to the starting rotation because you're expected to pitch 5, 6, 7 innings. I think, you know, your arm, it takes a while to be able to build up to that. Mentally, I don't know. I have no idea. I've never done it. Ask Ryan Dempster because he started out as a starting pitcher with Florida. The Cubs moved him to the bullpen as a closer, and now he's back to a starting pitcher. So he would be an ideal guy to ask that question.
Let me write that down. Drew Olson is on it.
Of course, LaTroy Hawkins could tell you that too.
He's been a starter and a reliever.
Yeah. Maybe Manny.
Chris Narveson. We got a lot of options.
That's right.
A lot of options.
Come to think of it, there's a ton of them.
We should have done a little advance work on our Ho-Chunk question. It's always nice to promise answers later. Thirteenth season in the big leagues, Ryan Dempster. And he walks Prince Fielder.
Clearly up and away, and not even close to Prince Fielder. Not quite sure if Dempster wanted to throw him a strike there.
Here's Casey McGee now. Casey's 0 for 2. He hit a shot last inning over to third. And a nice play by Chad Tracy. Well, the first order of business for the Brewers from here on out is to chase Dempster from this game. Now his pitch count is low, only 78 pitches as he works here in the 6th. McCoy Hill on his way to the mound. Most career wins against the Brewers, only Oswald has one more. Dempster could join Oswald tonight. Dempster is 12-3 in his career against Milwaukee with a 2.88 ERA. Two and nothing on McGee. There's a strike on the corner. Casey sitting on an 11-game hit streak. Second longest in the big leagues. Jorge Cantu has hit in 16 straight to start the year.
Guy's had a nice career, hadn't he? Really had. He can hit.
Yeah.
Jorge Cantu, you bet.
Set a major league record this year. First 10 games to start a season had at least a hit and an RBI. McGee lays off a tough pitch. Good take. 3-2.
That says a lot about the guys in front of him in that batting order, doesn't it? Jorge Cantu.
Marlins have a good club. A lot of talk swirling around their manager, though, Freddie Gonzalez. Casey sends one to third again. Nice play by Tracy to second for one to turn. And it's in time. Man, that was some kind of play all the way around. Tracy's done a nice job at third for the Cubs tonight. Inning is over and 6 shutout for Dempster. Aluminum pipe, 4 more ounces of that great Pilsner taste. And by Toyota. Thank you for standing by us. For more information, visit buyatoyota.com. Roof is closed on a rainy Friday night in Milwaukee. And the Brewers are down to the Chicago Cubs 6-0. There's Marla. We had her on in our Brewers Live pregame show today. She works in the Animal ER. And a nice visit with Craig Kashan earlier today. Looking forward to Brewers postgame. Brewers Live postgame tonight. Brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. An instructional, perhaps, from Bill Schroeder tonight.
Got some help tonight. You know, Davey's kind of hobbling around.
What's the matter with Davey?
Has a bad ankle.
Bad wheel. That's too bad.
They put a boot on him. So he's not going to be able to come down on the field and run around like normal. You know I'm going to get?
No.
Eddie Cedar is going to come down and help me out.
Brewers first base coach. A real live
and outfield coach. We're going to talk about playing the line drive in the outfield.
All right.
With Eddie Cedar.
Maybe a couple of drills, something you can learn from.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's one of the things that we're going to try and do this year with the instructionals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and not just to demonstrate, you know, something that happened and, you know, what should have happened or why certain things happened. We're going to incorporate some drills to help the kids out.
You are the godfather of the instructional. I've noticed a lot of other networks have taken your idea and kind of made it their own. I've noticed that. You began it. You started it.
That's not my idea.
Well, you were the facilitator of it.
I enjoy doing them, though.
Well, you're good at it. See, this guy here, he could use a little instruction. Tyler Colvin leads off for the Cubs, and Manny Parra picks up another strikeout. All 4 of Manny Parra's outs have been strikeouts. Now, replay fueled by Gatorade returns with an all-new season. High school teammates reunite 11 years later in Hockeytown. Follow the journey of Catholic Central versus Trenton. ReplayTheSeries.com. 11 years later. See what they look like.
Is that Trenton, New Jersey? That's my old stomping grounds.
I didn't know they called it Hockeytown.
Well, I guess it's not Trenton, New Jersey. Then they call Trenton, New Jersey a lot of things, but not a hockey town.
That's right.
My mistake.
Yeah. Trenton's lovely this time of year. They have a minor league baseball team in Trenton.
Yes, they do.
The Thunder, as I recall.
Yeah. Ken Maka managed there.
In the Red Sox system, right?
Yeah.
Mike Fontenot for the Cubs here in the 7th. Parra continues his run against left-handers. Fukudome, Chad Tracy, Tyler Colvin, and now Fontenot. And he has 4 strikeouts in an inning and a third. He did walk Derek Lee and left him stranded. And now he's ahead of the count against Fontenot. That line drive hit a fan in the seats.
Hit an usher. Actually hit a vendor.
He's all right. Still on his feet. Didn't spill a thing.
No.
Still working too. That says it all about the Miller Park vendors.
He's got to make sure he's giving out the right change. Ball hits you in the head like that, man.
Yeah, everybody raises their hand. No, I just bought one. I gave you the money. You don't remember? How's he looking?
I think he's fine.
Oh, what's all the attention about?
Yeah.
Two balls, 2 strikes on Fontenot. Got a single and an RBI his last time up, and stays alive against Manny Parra. Tomorrow it's Doug Davis in desperate need of a turnaround. Ted Lilly will make his 2010 debut tomorrow. Over to Fielder, and Prince will take it to the bag for out number 2. Well, we invite you to join the Bucks and Fox Sports Wisconsin at Palermo's Pizza, presents Bucks Playoff Red Fest. Come down to the Bradley Center Plaza 2.5 hours before every home game and enjoy live music. There's food down there. Meet Bucks and Fox Sports Wisconsin personalities. Go to foxsportswisconsin.com to learn more. Red Fest.
Got to wear red, right?
I think so.
Everybody in the seats. Bucks got to come up with a victory.
Down 2-0 to the Atlanta Hawks. Game 3 tomorrow at the Bradley Center. Coy Hill, the batter, with 2 outs. Over to McGee. He's got plenty of time. And that's the inning. 2 scoreless for Manny Parra. Stretch time at Miller Park. The Brewers are down 6-0.
Bottom of the 7th inning, Brewers trail 6-0. We're getting ready for Brewers Line postgame presented by Lincoln Mercury, and we're going to look at Jeff Supon's day and see what his near future holds for this team here from Ken Maka on that topic. And also, it's kind of interesting, you know, the Brewers helped making history of that 20-0 game yesterday. Several other teams in baseball have scored 20 runs or more. We know that, but what did they do the next game? We're researching that and going to come up with some numbers for you. Of course, Rock getting set for Ed Cedar, and Davey Nelson's going to join me out in our hot spot out there in right field for Brewers Line postgame presented by Lincoln Mercury, guys.
All right, Craig, thanks a lot. Looking forward to that. Brewers are down 6-0 to Ryan Dempster and the Cubs as Jim Edmonds leads off. Dempster's been tough tonight, working on a 4-hit shutout. He starts the 7th inning against the bottom of the Brewers order. Edmonds, Zahn, and Escobar, and then the pitcher spot due up. The Brewers came into this series against Chicago with a game plan that is similar for every game, but especially with the Cubs, to try to get to that bullpen quickly. Their bullpen has really struggled this year.
Well, the starters unfortunately have not. I mean, the starting pitching for the Cubs has been tremendous. Except for the man on your left, Carlos Zambrano. He has struggled. That's why he's in bullpen.
Well, Dempster strikes out Edmonds for the 2nd time. Ryan Dempster has been on his game. He has 4 strikeouts through 6 1/3, and he's only surrendered the 4 hits in this game.
Really has been able to get ahead in the count with all of his pitches. His fastball has been on the corners, down in the zone, and that nasty split-fingered fastball, the cutter, and the slider for Dempster. A lot of good pitchers out there in baseball, but none that have been more effective against Milwaukee than Ryan Dempster.
Been very efficient tonight. Just at 88 pitches here in the 7th inning.
4 strikeouts and 1 walk. Only 5 base runners for the Brewers. Actually 6, a hit batter.
Well, we'll see how effective Ted Lilly will be tomorrow. He returns to the Cubs rotation after a shoulder injury. his first start. And Doug Davis is looking for that turnaround start tomorrow. Maybe it'll come tomorrow here at home.
Yeah, Doug's been scuffling. He's had a tough time of it. Last started in Washington. Brewers 11-7 victory. But was not able to get through the fifth. Got to get him going.
There's a matchup tomorrow. Ted Lilly, last year a 3.10 ERA. He was a 12-game winner. Been pitching down in the minor leagues this year in rehabilitation starts to get ready, and a sore shoulder has subsided. Lilly is ready to go as Doug Davis will match up with him. Zahn sends one to the gap in left center. That is down for a hit. Bird's able to cut it off, but Zahn will roll into second with a double. So the first hit for the Brewers since Joe Inglet back in the fifth inning.
And 3-2 pitch with a 6-run lead. Ryan Dempster didn't want to walk Greg Zahn. Put one outer half up in the zone, and a nice piece of hitting by Zahn, taking it into center field. And a 1-out double for the Brewers. Time to get on the board. Get the skunk out of the box.
Second extra base hit of the game, and now Escobar will hit with a chance to drive in a run. Greg Counsell is on deck. He'll hit for Manny Parra. Off the end of the bat. Terrio makes a play for out number 2. Zahn advances, but 2 down now, and here comes Counsell. Counsell for Manny Parra. And a nice ovation for good reason. Craig Counsell on the road trip. His 3rd career grand slam, and continues to put up impressive numbers with the bases loaded in his career. That was part of that 10-run first inning for Milwaukee against Washington back on Sunday.
That was Doug Davis's start. The day after Livan Hernandez shut the Brewers out. Things turn around in this game for good and for bad very quickly. That's why I don't get too excited about games like yesterday.
Counsell with a line drive base hit. That one's going to go to the wall. Zahn scores. Counsell on his way to third now, and here comes the throw. Counsell is going to be out at third base.
Base running mistake by Craig. Don't get thrown out at third, down by 5, and never make the third out at third.
It'll be an RBI double, but a good relay from Fukudome to Fogno to Tracy to get Counsell. Inning over. once again tomorrow. Roof closed tonight on a rainy night in Milwaukee. A little bit of showers out there, not too bad. But nice and comfortable inside. Unfortunately, the Cubs have a 6-1 lead. Craig Counsell with a base running error, getting thrown out at third base, trying to stretch it into a triple. And now LaTroy Hawkins will pitch for the Brewers. And he'll face Ryan Dempster, who will stay in to hit, which obviously tells you he will stay in to pitch the 8th.
Yeah, Lou Purnell is not taking any chances with the way his bullpen has been.
Well, you don't see Craig Counsell make base running blunders very often. I think once he saw Fukudome bobble in right field, he thought he had a shot at it.
Well, the problem is he was able to see Fukudome bobble.
Right.
You see the way he was turning around and not picking up Brad Fisher. He was literally, as he was approaching second base, turned his entire body around, which slows you down. I mean, there's no way that you should be able to see a bobble out in the right field corner when you're trying to run to second base. I mean, you pick up the coach. And again, this is something that you very rarely see from Craig, because he's so fundamentally sound, and he was an easy out at third base.
And that is one of those unwritten baseball rules, base running rules. You never make the third out at third base.
You don't make the third out at third base. Don't make the second out at home plate. And never make outs on the bases when you're down by 3-4 runs, let alone 5 runs.
That's been that kind of night for the Brewers. And after a day when everything, and I mean everything, went well yesterday, just the opposite tonight. Escobar makes the play on Dempster for out number 1.
Major League Baseball and People magazine are looking for individuals who make a difference in their community. 30 everyday All-Stars will be honored at the 2010 All-Star Game in Anaheim. To nominate somebody, go to peopleallstars.com.
One gone for Ryan Theriot. And a bouncing ball to Escobar. Off balance throw, and fielder can't dig it out. That's the second error of the game for Alcides Escobar. Well, and those are the kind of errors that have you pulling out your hair.
Yeah. Well, and he certainly had time. I mean, he surrounded the baseball. He had time to stop, plan himself, and make a throw. He decided to keep running and throw off balance, throw off his front foot, and threw it right in front of Prince. That was a tough hop for Prince to handle, one of those in-between hops. If you hop it on the grass, he's got a long hop to handle or a short hop. Those are the easy ones to deal with.
Now, Escobar's error in the first inning led to a run. And now Escobar with 5 errors on the season. Here's Fukudome. Now LaTroy Hawkins on the mound, and Drew Olson, another opportunity for Hawkins, who was great to start the season, then ran into some troubles when he went back to Wrigley Field.
That's right, B.A. When LaTroy closed out that inning Wednesday night, or closed out the ball game Wednesday night in Pittsburgh, there were only about 2,000 people left in the stands, and we were joking after the game that it seemed like an Arizona Fall League game. He said, man, I don't care. I was just glad to get out there and feel good and get somebody out. He'd given up 7 runs over his previous 2 appearances.
I think he's another guy that could be going through a dead arm period. He missed a lot of time in spring training as well, about 2 weeks with a sore shoulder.
Yeah. Hawkins, a former Cub, he actually closed games for the Chicago Cubs.
You know, they say spring training isn't all that important. You know, the Cubs are talking about that with respect to Aramis Ramirez. He battled some injuries in spring training. He had, mid-20s in at-bats, and I think he's feeling the effects of that right now, that 0-for-19 stretch.
Ball and 2 strikes on Fukudome. I think the Brewers, when they began the season, feeling like maybe their strength was their bullpen. Obviously, it's a lineup that is very good and going to score a lot of runs, but you really can't count on offense night in and night out. And that's shown itself here from the last 2 days. But a bullpen that has let 4 late leads get away. So if you get that corrected, Brewers feel like they're in a pretty good spot right now to click away some wins and start to gain a little bit of an identity. That's what Jim Edmonds was talking about earlier today. You know, this club, a lot of new faces, trying to figure out who they are, and we'll see if they can pull it together. Swing and a miss. Throw to second, right on the bag, and Zahn guns down the base runner Terrio, and that's the first time all year he's been caught stealing. Strike him out, throw him out, double play. Hitting over. We head to the bottom of the 8th. Lead at 6-1 as we head to the bottom of the 8th inning, and they've had offense early and often. They scored 2 in the first. Ryan Terrio has a couple of hits tonight. In the 5th inning, there were 4 straight hits that plated 2 runs. The Brewers' only run came on a Craig Counsell RBI double. Counsell was thrown out, trying to stretch it into a triple last inning. So that's where we stand, and Ryan Dempster is back on the mound. As we head to the bottom of the 8th, Wendy's at the plate. Ricky Weeks has been on twice. Could have easily had 2 hits tonight. He's 1 for 3. No Soriano, no Giovanni Soto, Noah Ramos Ramirez, 3 everyday players for the Cubs, and sitting next to each other.
And unfortunately, no relievers have been needed. Only 98 pitches so far for Ryan Dempster here in the 8th inning. That's pretty efficient.
Dempster has 4 strikeouts. He surrendered just 1 walk, and he's hit a batter. Putting together one of his best starts of the year at this point. Ricky Weeks with a base hit. Boy, he's hit the ball hard just about every time up. And his 2nd hit.
Well, he's really doing a nice job covering that slider on the outside corner. Remember, he hit a couple of bullets on pitches in that similar location down and away. Nice and short stroke with 2 strikes. Lets the ball get there and just drops the head of the bat on it. And another rocket off the bat of Ricky Weeks. Big Z. He's going to get a shot, perhaps.
Double Carlos in the bullpen. So much for not being available tonight. Dempster to second for one. The turn is high, and it's into the Brewer dugout. And Gomez will be awarded second base. Well, the Cubs had a double play right there in front of them.
That's about the only way you're going to double up Carlos Gomez. A one-hop bullet right back to Dempster, who had a good feed over there to Terrio. He just airmailed one.
Well, see if the Brewers can take advantage.
It's the second double play that the Cubs have not been able to turn tonight. In close games and in late games, that's going to cost you.
So here's Braun now, to be followed by Fielder. Dempster gets ahead of Braun. Well, Ryan is hitless tonight. He's 0 for 3. He's got a 10-game hit streak on the line here tonight. He'd love to get Fielder a chance at the plate with some men on base. Dempster coming off his best start of the year. He did take a no decision, but he went 7 2/3 against the Astros and gave up just 1 run. Two balls and a strike on Braun.
This is where Ryan is so dangerous. He's showed good patience at the plate in this at bat. That last fastball, very borderline. Ordinarily a pitch that Ryan might offer at, but he's got the count in his favor.
A matchup of Ryans. Dempster against Braun with 1 out in the 8th. The speedy Gomez at second as Braun sends one to right. Fukudome is right there for it. A line drive out for the second out of the inning. Tough luck for Braun.
Hey fans, tomorrow the first 10,000 fans 18 and older will get a Kalahari Resort VIP savings card courtesy of Kalahari Resorts, the official water park of your Milwaukee Brewers.
So 2 outs, and here's Prince. He doubled off Dempster in the first inning. Narrowly missing a home run. At the very top of the wall, hit the corner of the padding at the top of the wall, and it came back in play. How close was it? Close enough to go to replay, as a matter of fact. They went to the replay booth, and crew chief John Hirschbeck said the call stands. It's a double. Interesting thing in that sequence, Ryan Braun did not score from first base. He thought it was a home run.
Yeah.
And had stopped running.
Well, it's a good thing that he did stop running. Had he kept going, they would have thrown him out. That would have been the end of the inning. Missed it by that much. Another inch. Would have been a tie game.
It's been the 6th time the Brewers have been involved in an instant replay. And what's interesting about that note, the 5 previous occasions were all overturned. And 3 of those were here at Miller Park. So a first tonight. The first time a boundary call has not been overturned. Dempster carried that shutout through 6 innings. Zambrano is seated. Some light tossing. Marmol continues to stand as Fielder takes the ball. Brewers have not been able to chase the Cubs starter at this point.
Pretty efficient all night long. Really hasn't been in much trouble, except for that first inning.
Full count to Fielder, base open at first, but a 6-1 Cubs lead. And that hit him. Fielder gets drilled by a pitch. Fielder leads the National League in times hit by pitch, and here comes Piniella.
Well, trying to come inside on the big fella, just got a little bit too much. He's not wearing the pad today.
Yeah, good observation. He's been wearing that protective brace on his elbow, but not today. Fielder is aboard. 2 on for Casey McGee, and here comes the closer, Marmol. Stay with us.
Of the night, Fielder's moved into the league lead for hit by pitches. He's been hit 6 times. Second baseman Ricky Weeks is second with 5. Before the ballgame today, Brewers manager Ken Maka talked about the fact that the Brewers have been hit 13 times this season. They've only hit 4 batters, and the joke was, what do you want us to do, even it up? But Maka did say that the 2 guys you don't want to hit in the Brewers lineup are Fielder and Weeks.
And Fielder now doubling up those nearest him. The last thing Dempster wanted was base runners. Now 2 aboard for Casey McGee as Lou Piniella calls on his closer for a multi-inning performance here tonight to try to shut down this 2-out rally.
With a 5-run lead here in the 8th inning, a non-save situation for Marmol. That gives you an idea what he thinks of the rest of his bullpen. Very unusual for a move like this. That's a heck of a slider that he has. And one of the best.
Marmol has been very good this year, and that one just missed. Marmol picked up a save against the Brewers at Wrigley Field, and he was as good as I've ever seen him. And many of the Brewers after that game saying that's as good as they've ever seen him.
Yeah. When you talk about as good as they've ever seen him, they mean he was throwing strikes, he was throwing hard, and his slider very sharp. Speaking of sharp, he wasn't too bad tonight.
7 2/3, just 1 run at this point. 2 on his responsibility. Marmol against McGee with 2 aboard and 2 out. And down goes Casey. Laz Diaz said he swung. And the inning is over. 2 left, still 6-1. Chicago coming up against Todd Coffey as Ken Maka goes back to the bullpen. Our Menards player of the game tonight at this point is Ryan Dempster. He goes 7 2/3, 7 hits, 1 run, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. He hit 2 batters. But his dominance of the Milwaukee Brewers continues. He's got a chance to go to 13-3 against the Brewers as Todd Coffey will come on for the 9th.
Well, Coffey's been outstanding so far. 7 appearances for Todd, 2.57 ERA, 1-0 record. Kind of unusual for Coffey, the numbers. 4 walks, only 2 strikeouts, but an opponent batting average of 227.
So Coffey is the 4th reliever used tonight. Short start for Jeff Suppan. He went 4 1/3, gave up 10 hits, 6 runs, 5 earned, and he's on the hook for the loss. Manny Parra was impressive tonight. He went 2 scoreless, struck out 4 of the 6 outs he recorded.
Yes, he was very efficient. He did walk 1, his first walk of the year. He continues to throw the baseball well. Manny doing all he can to try and get himself in that starting rotation.
Patiently waiting his turn as the Brewers protect the depth. Both Parra and Narveson out of options at this point. So you can't send them to the minor leagues without losing them to another club. Derek Lee to start the 9th. Lee, Chad Tracy, and Marlon Byrd. Cubs with 6 runs on 11 hits. Lou Piniella's looking like a pretty smart manager with his lineup today. Yeah, when you're not hitting, you might as well shake it up a little. And he certainly did that, giving 3 starters the night off.
Yeah, Coy Hill having a pretty good night tonight. Filling in for Soto.
Coffey strikes out Derek Lee. How about some news and notes from around baseball? What's going on tonight, Drew?
Well, guys, Manny Ramirez went on the 15-day disabled list today. That's just the 3rd time in his 17-year career he's on the DL, not including suspensions. And, in the National League, there's no DH to hide him. Also, Tampa Bay signed Ben Zobrist to an extension, $30 million. He's really the heart and soul of that team. And also in Florida, Jorge Cantu has a 20-game hitting streak.
20 consecutive games going back to last year, 16 this season. And, of course, the big news around baseball from yesterday, Carlos Zambrano going to the bullpen. And
yeah, Dodgers off to a slow start, 7 8 coming in today. And with Manny on the disabled list, they don't have Juan Pierre to fill in for him like they did last year.
Manny with a calf strain. Also a little bit of news, Drew, in Chicago today. Milton Bradley was talking to reporters earlier today.
That's right. Some of the Cubs reporters were wondering how that was going to go because Milton Bradley, as you know, when he left Chicago, had some not too kind things to say about Chicago, and he wasn't on very good terms with the Cubs media contingent. But apparently, when he arrived in Chicago at the ballpark today, he spoke to reporters about it and seemed like everything was okay.
He's been bothered by a calf strain as well, Milton Bradley. So far, that deal has worked out for the Cubs. It's early, but Carlos Silva has been terrific for Chicago in their starting rotation.
And Milton Bradley's replacement, Marlon Byrd, hasn't been too bad either.
Fielder will take it himself. And out number 2. Now the Bucks in the NBA playoffs. Tickets for the first 2 home games of the Bucks Atlanta Best of 7 playoff series on sale now. Go to Bucks.com, the Bradley Center box office, or call 1-800-4NBA-TICKS. Saturday at 6, and I believe Monday is at 7:30. Bucks playoff games this Saturday and Monday in Milwaukee.
That's right, 7:30. Kind of validating what you say.
Oh, I appreciate that. Wasn't quite sure. It seems like it was 7:30.
Well, you said you believe, so I'm just telling you, you're right.
I appreciate that. You got my back here.
Trying.
It's nice. always. Marlon Byrd with 2 outs. You like his bat, Rock? I like Marlon Byrd's bat.
Yeah.
That's one of those Mike Cameron looking bats that he used to use.
The two-tone?
The two-tone. Nice color. Kind of a short bat.
It is a fashion statement this year, or I should say these days with players, the way their bats look. Good looking bat.
There's a lot of ball impressions on the sweet spot of that bat as well. That's a good idea of a guy who's going pretty good right now at the plate. Explain the cupped out end.
They just take out some unnecessary weight. You can get the weight, you know, say that's a 32-ounce bat with that end hollowed out. I mean, you're actually getting wood that's probably for a 34-ounce bat. So the heavier the bat, the harder the wood. Sometimes the better the wood. So you hollow it out. You don't need it up there anyway.
One-two pitch, and Byrd fouls it away. The hollowed out bat. Now, what did you use a bat like that?
I did. I went back and forth. You know, I was one of those guys that I always used the same model as an M110, the Louisville Slugger.
Yeah.
You know, sizes and weights, cupped, flame treated.
There's a shot back up the middle. And Byrd with his second hit. It is pretty bad.
You know, the untreated bats, you know, now they double dip these bats in the lacquer.
Hard as a rock.
Double dipped.
Have you noticed that bats aren't breaking as much as they have the last couple of years? I have.
Yeah, they were blowing up at a record pace last year and the year before.
Especially the maple bats. I think it has a lot to do with the differential between the barrel and the handle.
Right. Big, heavy barrel on it and a very thin handle bat. If you don't hit them just right, they're just going to explode on you. I don't know if it's so much the maple or not. I think it's the weight of the bat, the swing weight, the size of the handle, and the guy that's using it. The guy that's using the bat has a little bit to do with whether you break a lot of bats.
If he's hitting a lot on the sweet spot, they don't break very often.
No, I'd be surprised if they ever break.
You don't want to see one of your hitters show up with, you know, like 6 bats for the game. That's not a good sign. Now, Tyler Colvin is using a maple bat. But the two bats break differently, the ash and the maple. Ash seems to splinter more, whereas the maple just kind of...
Yeah, you can break it and it'll stay together in an ash bat.
Right. Back in the day, they used to use the hickory bats. Those were the heaviest bats. Babe Ruth's bat was 40 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody uses hickory anymore. Just ash and maple. And they do have specifications on color. Except on Mother's Day, and then you can use a pink bat. There's a strike from Coffey. 2-2.
Corey Hart got a new shipment of bats the other day in Pittsburgh.
Premium yellow birch.
Hit a home run with him. Good comeback sinker on the inside corner for Todd Coffey. Now Tyler Colvin's barrel of his bat looks gray.
That works. Padres bat. I wonder if that's Jim Edmonds' bat. That's an ash bat right there. That is not a maple bat. Who would be using a Padres bat? Rock?
Jody Garrett.
Jody Garrett. That's a good call. Jim Edmonds. Runner takes off, and Colvin hits one a ton into right center. And that one is not coming back. Wow, that bangs off the rafter up there. Tyler Colvin with a 2-run home run. And it is 8-1 Cubs. And this night can't end fast enough for the Brewers. Second home run for Colvin in the big leagues.
First home run given up by Todd Coffey. Boy, that was a bomb off the bat of Tyler Colvin. We talked about how sweet his swing is. He got one out over the plate. Gave it a pretty good ride. Look at the extension. Nice short stroke. And way up there in right center.
Banged off the scoreboard. Up there in Prince Fielder territory. Colvin had a huge spring, which is why he is on this major league club to start the year. Out in a hurry. Broken bat bouncer to Escobar. And the side is retired, but the Cubs tack 2 on the board. Tyler Colvin, home run number 2. Head to the bottom of the 9th inning. Brian Anderson with Bill Schroeder, and it has not been a good night for the Brewers tonight, Rock, as last night or yesterday 20 runs on 25 hits, and here today it's a different story.
Well, they say good pitching will always neutralize good hitting, and that's certainly the way it's been. You know, it's one of those things. You know, you always talk about momentum in baseball. You don't take a 20 hit or a 20 run barrage into the next game. That's not the momentum. The guy that stands on that bump,
right? He's
responsible for the momentum that particular day, and certainly Ryan Dempster gave the Cubs all the momentum they needed. He pitched a dandy.
Dempster 7 2/3 innings with just 1 run allowed, and he turned the ball over to Marmol just when the Brewers were trying to get something going. They had a little 2-out rally going in the 8th. 2-men aboard with McGee at the plate, and Marmol struck him out. And both Braun and McGee's hit streaks looks to be in jeopardy at this point. Unless they get another turn at bat, McGee's will end at 11, Braun's will end at 10. And that guy has ended a number of hit streaks in his career. Edmonds slices one over to Tracy, and another line drive out. As we check in with Drew Olson. Drew?
Well, guys, Jim Edmonds had the big day in Pittsburgh yesterday, didn't everybody? So he got to start tonight over Corey Hart. Corey Hart most likely will start tomorrow night against Ted Lilly. Yesterday, during the 20-inning barrage, Corey Hart was lobbying the coaching staff to get in the ball game. The interesting thing about that was he wanted to pitch the 9th inning. Trevor Hoffman took precedence over him, and he had to pitch. But Corey said, what's the difference? We're up by 20 runs. If I give up 5, we win by 15.
Right. Well, I guess if Manny Parra is going to be driving in runs, and Corey Hart wanted to pitch. He and Greg Zahn not a part of yesterday's festivities at the plate. Zahn with a base hit. So Greg Zahn with 2 hits.
I will guarantee that Trevor Hoffman has never pitched in a 21 lead.
As it turned out, he ended up in a save situation. He was out there to save a piece of Brewers history yesterday. It had to be the most lopsided game he's ever pitched in.
And he needed some work. It's been a week.
Trevor was out there in the 9th inning yesterday to protect a 20-run lead. But what he did save was a franchise record for largest victories in a shutout game, and he tied the franchise record for largest margin of victory. And that brings us to tonight, with the Cubs leading 8-1. So a wise man said, you don't get too excited about success, don't get too depressed about a lack of success.
Now 36 runs in 3 games, that's not going to last forever. You enjoy it while you can, but you just can't expect it.
And Escobar is down on strikes. Oh, that is wicked. A couple of strikeouts. Here's what the weekend looks like. Tomorrow, the Cubs and the Brewers on WMLW. The Hawks and the Bucks game 3 of that best-of-7 NBA playoff series at 5:30 for Bucks Live on Fox Sports Wisconsin. And then Sunday, it's a matinee here at Miller Park. The Cubs and the Crew on Fox Sports Wisconsin. Hope you'll make plans to be with us. Jody Garrett will pinch hit for Coffey. Brewers down to their last out. Garrett is 2 for 7 as a pinch hitter. That includes a home run. Cubs with 13 hits. They've out-hit the Brewers tonight, 13-8. Jody Garrett draws a walk. Well, the more pitches Marmol throws, the better off the Brewers will be tomorrow.
I can't imagine why Carlos Marmol would be in this ballgame. I mean, I can understand whether, 6-1 maybe, a little bit of a panic in that dugout. Bullpen has been in a shambles out there for the Cubs, but a 7-run lead in the 9th. The more pitches he throws today, the less effective he will be tomorrow.
It was a little surprising that Piniella brought him in with a 6-1 lead and 2 outs in the 8th inning. And even more surprising that he left him in there with an 8-1 lead going to the 9th. But those are the numbers why Piniella did what he did. A 6 ERA from the bullpen.
And a 1-6 record.
Oh, 2 to Ricky Weeks. Struck him out. The ball game is over, and the Cubs win the opener of this 3-game weekend series in Milwaukee as Marmol finishes it off. Ryan Dempster picks up his 2nd win. Jeff Suppan, the loser.